Saturday night is feeling all right now that we're back at the Rock Revolution with the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Are you a renegade? Make sure to stay out of trouble in fixed ops with our next panel.
Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. I'm Sarah Vantine here today with Tom Kline of Better Vantage Point. Tom, we have a really exciting subject for our dealers and our audience that's going to be listening today.
We certainly do. Thanks for having us all, Sarah. Welcome everyone to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. I'm Tom Kline from Better Vantage Point, where we help dealers navigate the world of governance, risk, and compliance. And today we're pulling back the curtain on something most people in the dealership world would rarely get to hear directly, which is what your in-house attorneys are seeing, thinking about, or maybe wrestling with. So in fixed ops, as everyone knows, the shop moves fast, advisors are busy, customers are impatient, and the pressure to continually produce is constant. But behind all that, there are patterns that we need to think about: compliance patterns, behavioral patterns, documentation patterns that will either protect the store or expose it. That's why I've invited two outstanding in-house attorneys, Bentley Durant and Serena Madar. They're on the front lines of governance inside large automotive groups, and so they see trends actually before most people see them. They see what's wrong, what's breaking, and where dealers are unintentionally stepping into the risk. So let's get right to it. I'd like each of you to introduce yourselves. Bentley, you first. Give us 30 seconds or so on where you are and how you got there.
I'm Bentley Durant. I'm the third generation auto dealer of the classic family of dealerships, and with 18 stores in Texas, Oklahoma, and Florida. And I started out like any other dealer kid. I tried to run away. Found law school as a great place to go where my family wouldn't be too upset with me if I went there. And right after about 2008, something odd was happening in the car business, and I got sucked right back into the car business to do some wonderful work with my family.
Okay, I understand the feeling. As you know, yes. I'm a third generation guy too. But it's like the Godfather said, right? They just keep sucking you back in.
Yes.
Okay, Serena, welcome.
Hi, I'm Serena Madar. I'm the General Counsel and Chief Compliance Officer for the New Car family of auto dealerships. We have, I believe, 30 stores across 26 locations in 6 different states. And I got here by having DCD as a client of mine, and then they asked me to come in-house.
Very good. Very good. Serena, let's start with you. In your role as an in-house attorney, what recent compliance or risk trends have surprised you the most, and how are you helping your teams navigate it?
Well, right now, my biggest risk is my dog barking in the background, so I'm hoping she'll settle down for a minute. The biggest risk that I see in dealerships right now, well, one of the things that I'm particularly concerned about is the use of AI through some of our vendors in connecting with customers through our service department, be it scheduling or sales pitches, if you will.
Okay, and what specific risk, Serena, from AI are you concerned most?
So we want to make sure that we have proper disclosures with anytime we're using AI, if it's representing a person or a voice, that our customers know that they're interacting with AI and not a real person. So I'm very cautious about how those messages are conveyed so that our customers know you're not actually talking to a real person. This is simulated through AI. So that's one of the things that I'm most concerned about, that all of our stores, all of our marketing people who interact with these vendors are keeping me in the loop so that I can make sure that the vendors know what disclosures we require and are looking for.
Okay. Bentley, I'm going to ask you the same question, but before I do, any thoughts, any follow-on thoughts to what Serena's talking about?
Oh, thank you. Yes. The AI coming into the dealership has certainly been a challenge because we've forgotten, some of this stuff that we should know. Like, you do not use an auto dialer to contact a customer. But then we forgot that AI has all the capabilities of an auto dealer. It's not a human. It's kind of falling between the lines. So when we're using AI to keep in communication with customers, we got to be aware, is this an auto dialer? Are we talking about TCPA violation just because we're having this piece of software talk to our customers in lieu of actual agents? And I've seen some challenges in that area, some that I'm a little bit frightened of. And we just got to keep aware that just because we got a new playbook with AI, it doesn't mean the old rules, we don't have any relief from the old rules. So we got to keep in compliance with the same old that we've had for the last 10, 20, 30 years while bringing in this new technology.
Take a minute and share with our audience TCPA, what it is, what the penalties are, so that we make sure they're keeping up with lawyer speak.
Well, I can't quote it by heart, unfortunately, but the Telephone Consumer Privacy Act is just something that the government's been doing for many years to cut down on the amount of spam calls we're all doing. And of course, we all know it's a complete failure. We're still getting all the spam calls that we've always gotten, but the regulations are out there and they have various serious consequences. Off the top of my head, I think the penalty can be $1,000 per phone call. So, please, Serena.
$5,000 per call.
Right, and this is text also, right, Serena and Bentley?
Yes, it's solicitations that are not consented to.
Correct. I just want to make sure everyone understands that it is solicitation. It's not just spam calls. So go ahead, Bentley. I interrupted.
There are legal ways to have these conversations, and these conversations are being had all the time. I'm getting automated texts from my kid's school when there's some sort of special alert, maybe a safety issue or something like that. I get automated texts from my pharmacy when my prescriptions are filled, and all these organizations had to come to grips, when they were set up their automated texts. Are they getting the right authorizations for it? Is it written consent? Is it express? All these hurdles. And so if you're looking at an AI to do something like this in your organization, that's definitely the point where you reach out to your in-house counsel or your outside counsel, whatever you're set up with, and have that conversation first. Don't have the conversation with your sales associate, please. The person selling you the AI is probably not prepared to have that conversation.
I think that's great. I think that's great counsel, even though you're not everyone's attorney. I'll give you the disclaimer before you even have to say it. How's that?
Oh, yes.
There you go. And do you have an answer for this question in addition, or you want me to move on to the next question?
Oh, yeah. Yes. Social media and politics. I'm not going to talk about politics, but I find my employees are engaging in different type of political conversation than they had in the last 10 years, and they're bringing it to the workplace, and they're trying new ideas on to see how they fit, maybe in their water cooler conversations. And we don't have to get too specific about it, but a lot of these conversations happening on social media are a little bit more extreme than they've been in the last 10 years. And a lot of it is just not workplace appropriate. So we're having to go back to our employees and say, hey, that's a social media conversation, not a workplace conversation. You have that conversation outside of the dealership. You have that conversation, in your political arenas, but not in your work arena. And having to differentiate that and educate, these younger, newer employees who are just engaging in this political discourse has certainly been a challenge for us.
And just one more question, then Serena, I'm going to move on to you on social media and hear from you about that. But do you ask your employees to post anything like on Facebook that says this isn't the the opinion of my employer, or do you kind of stay out of that completely?
Was that directed to me? I'm sorry.
So I think no, Bentley, was that? I was directing that to you.
Oh, sorry. Yes. No, we haven't engaged at that level. We kind of allow our sales associates to be independent agents, but we do watch what they say and we remind them occasionally in our meetings, say, hey, if you're representing yourself, you're your own business, you need to be talking like any other business would. And we coach them, on what the social media boundaries for a business are. And we let them know, look, if you want to talk politics in your social media, be aware that you may lose customers over it. Now, we've got other employees who will happily take those customers from you with the opposite perspective.
Right. Good point. Serena, what are your thoughts on politics and social media and how you're handling that right now?
So we have actually asked our employees not to talk about politics in the workplace. And that way we figure it's going to eliminate a lot of these issues. We don't tell our employees what to put on social media. Obviously, if they're accessing our social media for any of our dealerships pages, the same rules apply. Those are not for political discourse. So we're not having, as far as I can tell, we're not having any issues with that. But we did make it clear politics doesn't belong in the workplace. You just don't know what people think and just don't talk about it.
Okay. All right. Next question is for Bentley. Where do you see the biggest blind spots in fixed ops from a legal or regulatory standpoint? And what simple steps have made the biggest difference in reducing those risks?
Well, in fixed ops, we're on a bit of a reprieve. The alphabet soup of agencies that oversee and regulate us, whether it's OSHA, EPA, many of those agencies are, the scrutiny has reduced. And my biggest concern is that we can't reduce our practices right here. We can't take this moment of respite when we're not being intensely looked at, because enforcement is still out there, even though funding may not be there in these agencies, even though, the number of people to come in and inspect your store may be reduced right now. This is the time to get on top of it, not behind the curve, because before you know it, something's going to change and that funding will come back, or those agencies will step back into a more aggressive stance, and your store will be open for plunder, as
Right.
it were, when they come in and start seeing violations that you haven't really been attentive to. So this is the time to get ahead of the curve, not allow yourself to sit back and fall behind the curve just because we're seeing a little bit less enforcement.
Yeah, interestingly, I read an article, I believe it was in the Wall Street Journal in the last 2 weeks, that said that the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, is now seeing their mission a little differently and a little more aggressively, because the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau has basically been taken out of the loop. So they are publicly saying that they're going to be more aggressive in their enforcement. Serena, where do you see the biggest blind spots in fixed ops from a legal or regulatory standpoint, and what steps have made the biggest difference in reducing those risks?
I mean, I don't know if it's a blind spot. I think that the biggest risk we face is paperwork and keeping all of our paperwork completed and up to date and signed and stored properly. So one of the things that we do in our stores is that we have a checklist for every deal. And I'm actually in the process of creating a universal checklist, because we do have stores in so many different states. And, it does vary somewhat by the manufacturer, but there are certain things that need to be in every deal. So we make sure that those things are being signed properly. We make sure that we get consents from customers on service, especially if it's an additional service to something that they came in for. So to me, it's all about making sure that you complete your paperwork. And we also are scanning all of our documents so that we're not storing them in paper somewhere at some offsite facility that could be compromised by human error or natural disaster.
Everyone.
So, to make them more easily accessible, even things with wet signatures, everything's being scanned and stored that way.
Okay, good. Yes, we all know the perils of paper. I, of course, just like you guys, have had the dubious honor of being in charge of the warehouse, which is the worst. Bentley, when you walk into a store, what's one thing that you observe that tells you instantly whether that particular store takes compliance seriously?
As a dealer and a general counsel, I maybe have a unique view here because I'm both a mix of operations and legal compliance in that aspect. But when I drive into any one of my partner stores, the first thing I notice is their inventory lines. I notice their merchandising. Are they straight? Are they parked in alignment? Are the colors diverse? Questions like that tell me exactly how that management team is executing the mission, their primary mission of inventory display. From just that one fact, if I can see that they're doing a poor mission at that, I know that once I get deeper in, compliance is going to be at risk because they don't even have enough time to do their primary job, let alone the secondary and often tertiary job of compliance. So then I walk into the showroom. If there's papers out on the desk, oh gosh, I know big red flags. Go back into the shop because we're talking fixed ops. I mean, shop basics. Every tech wants a microwave at their station and they can't have it. I mean, these are the simple things and they're so easy to spot. Any shop manager can walk right into their shop right now and find a dozen of them. And they may even have some agency coming in and spotting them for the same dozen infractions weekly. But let me tell you, if you're not managing your primary job, you're not managing the job of compliance. A good manager can manage both. A good management team is looking at all aspects, and they're not so preoccupied, not so overwhelmed just on the initial merchandising side and the initial sales focus that they miss all the other stuff going on.
Great answer. I mean, I've been to stores where I see the lot attendant with a string on the front line, right? I've seen that, and then I've seen what you just described. So
I used to be that lot attendant, and we laser line those up with strings and whatever.
That's it. Okay, Serena, when you walk into a store, what do you see?
He took part of my answer. I was going to say a clean desk, because if I see papers all over the desk, I know we're going to have a problem in my service department and on the sales floor.
Okay, I get this question a lot, which is on a service RO, is the customer information, their address, their phone number, and their email address, is that considered PII? And so what do you recommend on the service and the fixed ops side? How do you fix that kind of problem?
Well, you can't have papers just laying around on your desk for a deal that you're not working on. You've got to have it put away. You've got to have them locked. You've got to have file folders so that when another customer comes by, I mean, at least in many of our stores here in Massachusetts, we've got the service bay, right, where people drive in and there's 4 or 5 sort of kiosks, if you will, set up where the customer interacts with our service advisors. So those desks have to be clean. And when you're done on that customer, you've got to put it all away so that the next customer coming up doesn't get a glance at it.
Okay. Bentley, thoughts about that?
We deal with it.
Yeah.
You want to go paperless, but many of the OEMs I work with for warranty, they want to see paper. They want to see signatures. They want to see authorizations. They want to see all that. So a paperless system in the shop is almost impossible under certain OEM paradigms. So unfortunately, the paper has to be there, but keeping it away, keeping it out of customer sight is a simple process.
Yeah.
We greet customers at the door. We don't invite them back to the desk where they can see that material, because that's probably the simplest way. Greet your customers on the drive for once. That's best practice, but it actually works.
Yeah. So one of the things I've been successful with on this point is the DMS providers can block out literally on the RO the address, the phone number, and the email address. So it's just black. And so that is another way that, the internal copy that you have, but the one can still have all the address and whatnot on it, but the actual physical copy is blacked out. That's something to consider also. What kind of issues are most likely to escalate to your desk from fixed ops, and what patterns are you seeing across stores that dealers should be aware of? Serena?
I'm fortunate to not have too many of these happen, but some of the things that escalate to me are customers will say, I didn't give approval for that repair. I came in for an oil change and I didn't give approval to have all these other things done. We normally have well-documented consents from customers, either through our DMS or in paperwork. Those sometimes can escalate to me. Sometimes I'll see things where customers complain about not being able to get repairs done because a part's on back order, which, that's not a dealership. I mean, it is a dealership issue, but it's not something that we can control. So having to explain that to customers can sometimes be an issue. Sometimes customers come in and complain about something that gets resolved, and then it shows up again a few months later. Now they're out of warranty. So those things escalate to me. Those are probably the top things in fixed ops.
Bentley, your thoughts on that?
Last year was horrible with the traffic accidents. And, every vehicle that comes in just about, with some serious repair, well, we're going to have to put it on the road and test it out. And I understand that the techs have to be a little bit distracted. They're listening for that sound, that vibration. They're trying to diagnose the car while driving. So we're focusing on defensive driving. We're focusing on discussing it in shop safety meetings, taking routes that take all right turns. But last year was a disappointment. I made it 2 days in the year before my first rear end collision, and it was our fault. And it was even we hit a former employee of ours, believe it or not. We got to do better from a safety perspective. That's probably the hardest area, but we just got to keep in front of our technicians who are doing these road test drives and remind them, safety first, job second.
Yeah. And one of the things that's helped in some of the dealerships that I've been at is after they have an accident, you have them take a defensive driving class, right? And they have to get a certificate. And there's some that you can get online and have progressive defensive driving classes and issues and that kind of thing. That tends to help. As you said, right-hand turns definitely helps. Staying within 2 miles of the dealership and under 45 miles an hour to the extent that you can helps. All these things are very good. Next, from your perspective, we'll start with Serena. From your perspective, what makes the partnership between legal and operations work well, and then what breaks it as well?
So I would say that all of my general managers, or our general managers, are my partners, and they understand that compliance is very, very important, and that they're not going to make money unless the store and the owners are making money, and they have to protect us on all the compliance fronts. So they're very good about keeping their staff in line and up to date on what's going on and what the major risks are.
Okay, Bentley?
I oversee some very high performance stores, and I've seen them perform at times where compliance wasn't their chief objective. But that was always the start of the fall. That wasn't when they were on the upswing. That was the start of the fall. And when over the years, when I look back, that's when their compliance got off kilter. That's when they needed me more than ever. And that's when I had to enter and engage with them and start having more difficult conversations with their management team. And in retrospective, I'm looking at this idea that, you got compliance and you got performance. The two aren't mutually exclusive at all. In fact, they really seem to go together, because when I see us on the upswing, we're not only upswinging on our performance, on our sales, on hitting our targets, but we're a little bit stricter. We're a little bit smarter. We're a little bit more educated, and we're tackling that compliance issue, and it's not even a problem.
Great. I love to hear that. I love to hear that. Bentley, next question. General managers often see compliance as something that slows things down. When you get that occasional general manager who doesn't view compliance the way you want to, how do you help them view compliance as a tool that protects profitability?
Well, it's a problem in the car business that we train our salesmen, we train our technicians, we might even train our service advisors, but we're not training our leadership.
Mm-hmm.
It starts with training our leadership, because if they think they're being slowed down but because of compliance, it's because they don't have the leadership skills to get their employees to do what they're supposed to do from the start. They're fighting getting their employees to do basic processes, walk arounds for every vehicle that come in, things like that. On the sales side, let's say, do a trade walk around or actually do the steps of the sale. If they can't get their employees to perform at that level, it's because they lack the skills, which we often haven't taught them. We often haven't spent the time or sent the employee to a leadership course so that they can sharpen up and figure out how to do these basic things. And as a result of them focusing completely on their performance objectives, not having the skill to achieve those, they're leaving their compliance objectives completely in the dust and forgetting about them. Just not enough hours in the day when you don't have the skill to start.
I was at a store last week, and this question came up, and the answer was by the dealer. He said, I march them outside, show them whose name's on the sign, and tell them what they need to do. Serena, what are your thoughts here?
If I encounter that, I have a heart-to-heart with the general manager about what our goal is. We are one team. We have one mission, and that is to sell cars and be upstanding citizens in the community and treat our customers properly with transparency and honesty. So it's not usually a problem in my stores because they understand the big picture.
Okay. Serena, is it about time for our lightning round here? Sorry, Sarah, is it time for our lightning round?
Oh yes, Tom. I think we are ready to go ahead and get this lightning round started. So
Okay.
with that, let's get our final question. And Tom, 30 seconds from our panelists today. I can't wait to hear what you're going to ask.
I can't wait to hear what I'm going to ask either. In my book, Tuck the Octopus, we talk about simplifying the complex, taking all the tentacles of dealership risk and compliance and pulling them together in something that's manageable. So if you could give one piece of short, simple, and practical advice that every dealership should take and do this week to reduce the risk in fixed ops, what would that be? And let's start with Serena.
I think I would come back to paperwork. Make sure your paperwork is done properly. You've dotted your I's and crossed your T's. You've got all the signatures that you need. You've scanned them in. You're not having issues with registry, and you are not having issues with customer consent. Get your paperwork in order and keep your desk neat. Okay,
there you go. Bentley?
It starts by just taking that walk back into the shop. And if you're a GM running a store or you're a service manager, it doesn't matter. Take your old set of eyes off, the one that sees that shop every day, put it on a new set of eyes, a customer set of eyes, and walk through it. Start thinking about what you see. Think about what your customer would see if they're walking through it. And that's the start. If your customer would be shocked, you should be shocked too.
Right.
You're probably out of compliance in some areas, and you're probably losing some profit in some areas too. I did this once in one of my shops, and guess what's up on the lifts? Not my customer cars. I had 5 hobby cars up on the lifts. Oh my goodness, what business am I in?
Right.
Supplying the DIY shop.
Supplying the technicians with room and board.
Yep.
and I'll just throw in into the mix extension cords in the shop, unlabeled bottles in the shop, razor blades laying around, right? These are just basic ones that if nobody's enforcing it, and then what to do with empty aerosol, cans, and making sure you're doing all your recycling. So thank you both so much for being here. Sarah, thank you for having us. It's always great to be here on the Fixed Ops Roundtable. And final words, Sarah.
Well, Tom, you covered a lot of incredible information with our panelists today. Lots of great insights for our dealers and our audience to take home with them. If you want to learn more about compliance and staying out of trouble in fixed operations, no better person than Tom Kline of Better Vantage Point. His information is in the ticker below, bettervantagepoint.com, as well as his phone number. Reach out today for more information. And with that, everyone stay tuned. We've got more exciting things coming up at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Axle One was created to allow auto dealers to interact with all their data, anywhere, anytime. Think of it as a dealership operating system that connects all your existing tools, improving profits and reducing costs. Our AI engine, Expert, provides role-specific insights and identifies actionable paths for growth.
Faster decisions and greater transparency. Book your demo today to learn more about what Axle One can do for your business.
Get kung fu fighting when it comes to protecting your privacy with Privacy for Cars.
Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. I'm Sarah Vantine here with Ted Ings. Today we have the Privacy for Cars panel, and we have a unique guest, someone who's seen vehicle privacy from both sides of the desk. Joe Homen has spent the past 30 years in the automotive industry, serving a wide range of roles and ultimately working his way up to a general manager and a partner owner at several dealerships across California, where he implemented in-vehicle data deletion programs at his dealership. And Joe's here today, Ted, to share why vehicle privacy became so important to him that he changed his entire career path to helping dealers implement vehicle privacy solutions.
All right, Joe, what an intro, and welcome to the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Thank you.
All right, great to have you. And, we've heard, Sarah and I have heard so much about privacy for cars in the last year, so I thought this would be a great opportunity, if it's okay for her and I to ask you some questions and, hone in on your retail background. And you worked for a pretty big group, and as Sarah mentioned, you left after 30 years in retail to focus on customer privacy. So you must see some things, okay, that are happening out in the marketplace. And, that bold move really helped, reinforce that, you believe this is worth betting your career on, if I could say.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So if you don't mind, take us back to when you were still a general manager. What was the aha moment? When did you realize that vehicle data was going to be, such an important thing in the retail dealership space?
Well, I mean, going back to, being a general manager and, day-to-day operations and everything, us as dealers, we have a lot of blind spots that sometimes, we don't know about or we oversee. And, we learn over time that protecting those blind spots or getting everything dialed in is very important, obviously, for the business, for our employees and everything. So that's always been on the front of my radar, because being compliant is not a want, it's a need.
You're so right, Joe. And we're seeing, as Ted and I have had conversations across the industry, data and privacy of data has become just such an important component for the customer experience and, for businesses to protect themselves as well. And so I'd love to get your perspective now that you're on the other side of the desk calling on your former peers. What's their reaction been like when you show them how much personal data is actually left in vehicles, even after they think it's been deleted?
It's eye-opening because obviously for myself, always going through the rules and FTC guidelines and safeguard rules and stuff like that, we always, again, try to protect the asset, the dealership. And when privacy in cars came up, to me, I had the blank look like, are we serious? I mean, really, 30 years in the car business, I thought literally we disconnected the Bluetooth from our phone or disconnected the cord from Apple CarPlay, and off we went, and my little device is good. And I should not have any more information in the vehicle. Talking to peers in the car business and other, dealer principals and general managers, when now being on this side of the table, giving them the knowledge and, telling them exactly how this works, they have the same blank look as in, wow, I can't believe it. And it's educational, and, we're always learning.
Joe, I'm on the other side of the country. I'm in New Jersey. And in New Jersey, privacy has been in the news, especially for car dealers. I've been following it now, maybe for the last 6 months. I got to ask you, questions. How real is the liability exposure for a dealer? I know you've been named on dealer licenses yourself throughout your career. Did you ever worry about being personally liable for a data breach, which is happening all the time now, or a privacy violation?
100%. I mean, obviously, I like to sleep well at night, and never been a fan of, again, breaking rules, and that's, never been in the cards, right? It's easier to do business the right way and, again, protect the asset, protect the dealership, protect the employees. And I mean, it should be on everyone's radar. I mean, it is super important that the attention to this compliance and privacy in cars is attended with.
And Joe, I'm thinking with our retailers that are listening to this today, we have so many components that happen in our F&I offices. We have those shredder boxes where, all of the information that we might have for a deal, need to end up because of the safeguards that are in place. And one of the interesting things, you coined the term digital shredder box. And so for those listening who may not know what that means, why do dealerships need one just like they have a physical shredder for paperwork?
Well, I mean, the way I look at it is like this. A lot of dealers are reactive, right? A lot of dealerships, they, when something happens, they react to it. And that's how a lot of things come up in the dealership world, at least in my perspective, right? Shred boxes are placed because we need them. We cannot not have them, right? Some dealers go to the length of, putting codes on their finance doors, their sales offices doors, their business office doors. I mean, it's not, do I need it? It's, you do need this. There's no way around it. And with privacy for cars, I mean, we are the only ones in the world globally that do this.
Yeah.
And like I said, it's not, do I want it? No, you need it.
Great references you made there, about, having access to the office and, what some of the things that dealers have done. But if you don't mind, let's get a little bit more tactical. There are dealerships, for example, some have collision centers, body shops. And if we use that as an example, how are companies like that using data deletion for total loss vehicles? Because it's not just the trades, not just the cars coming in for service, but it seems to be a whole lot more.
Yes, when you get into the circle of exactly, when you start peeling back the onion and you start looking at how many different areas that this is affected in, a body shop, you have total loss vehicles that vehicle is going to go from the body shop to the insurance company that's going to pay off the vehicle, that's going to go to Copart or whoever else that's going to dismantle that vehicle and sell those parts off. Obviously, with that customer data in there, you just don't know where that's going to end up at. You also have the exposure on the loaner car side, the rental car side, the vehicle trade-ins. It continues to go and go. And there's a lot of cars out there, and this is a very, very big issue.
And Joe, I'm thinking about, what we were just talking about with the body shops. And, one of the things that I didn't realize is just how much information vehicles store today. And we're seeing it get increasingly more complex, just how much data cars are collecting through our phones and through our devices about us that are contained in the vehicles. And so, body shops are one application. Where else are you seeing this in privacy for cars create value? And maybe more importantly, where is it creating revenue that dealers didn't expect?
Well, I always tell dealers, obviously compliance is number one. But us as dealers, obviously, if there's a revenue stream, that's a bonus, right? Dealers for years have, always, I want to buy more cars off the street. I want to do this. I want to increase my CSI. There's multiple ways to do it. Number one, compliance. Number two, it is a CSI booster for the automotive world, right? For every dealership. I mean, if me as a dealer, it opens my eyes and gives me a blank face when I find out that my data is probably in other cars that I've driven for all these years. Look at the customer experience when they're coming in, they're trading in their car. It's probably the first time they're ever going to hear someone say, I'm going to go out to your vehicle and delete your data, right? And I'm sure 9.9% of of customers are going to say, I didn't even think about that. Thank you. It's, and the revenue piece of it, it's when you, again, it's all about the message that you're putting out there for your dealership and making it unique and different than everyone else. If you look at it for buying cars off the street or buying cars from consumers, a small, hey, before you buy or trade or sell, before you trade or sell your vehicle, come clear your data with us. Right? You're going to get hand raisers that are coming in. Obviously, if the customer comes on the showroom floor and says, hey, I'm here to clear my data on my vehicle, you already know, they're selling their car to their neighbor, their doctor, CarMax, whoever it is. Yep. And you have a look at the basket that you would not have before. So that's just a different component that goes along with privacy for cars.
Yep. And I know the group that you worked with has had tremendous success in making this, Joe, a differentiator. So I want to ask you about that. We're still early adopters, all right? How are they using privacy as a differentiator, offering perhaps that free deletion service you just mentioned to capture, let's say, even more trades, maybe even more vehicles in the service department to, acquire their trade and maybe close more deals in the process?
It's all about putting a plan together, right, and executing on that plan. And at the end of the day, it's all about procedures, right? Policy and how you go about doing business. And that's what we did. We took what we had, we increased our CSI, and we increased our basically buying our vehicles off the street, which we know it's so hard to do in today's world because everyone's trying to do it. They're getting calls from everybody trying to buy their cars. And it makes the difference is the dealership down the road doesn't offer data deletion, but we do. And obviously that right there is the game changer. And consumers 100% of the time will come visit you because the other dealer won't do it or can't do it.
Well, Joe, it's so funny that you said either they won't do it. And it's so, the enemy oftentimes of the automotive industry is sometimes ourselves as an industry. There's so much of that mentality. We have a lot of great early adopters and a lot of very innovative dealers here at the Fixed Ops Roundtable that are always looking to have that edge. But the industry as a whole, we have had some slow adoption sometimes of best practices where, this is the way we've always done it. Or, you've heard the objections. Our staff can handle, they can't handle this. We can't afford another vendor right now. So how do you respond to your former peers when they push back on some of this innovation?
Again, it's not, I want this. To me, you have to have it. There is no walking around this. I mean, again, if we're out there blocking and tackling day-to-day business, I mean, don't leave yourself exposed with a blind spot. It's a huge, again, we all in the dealership world, we have the KPAs of the world. We try to put everything in place to make sure that, everything works in conjunction. But there is no platform out there like Privacy for Cars. Right. And the best thing is that I believe the more you have, the less liability you have, right?
Yes.
And you cannot, in my opinion, I'd rather have more than less.
Yes. Joe, three of us have seen a whole lot in automotive retail over the years. I'm curious if you could go back and talk to Joe Homen from 3 years ago as a general manager. What would you tell yourself about vehicle privacy? What do you know now that you wish you knew then?
This program should have been, I should have signed up a lot sooner than what I did. I wish I would have known I wish I would have had the education of how much information these cars actually, download. That it's I mean, between biometrics and, photos, videos, I mean, yeah, we can go down the list. It's eye-opening.
It's pretty huge. So I think, Joe, our audience is going to have an opportunity to learn more about that next week in Las Vegas. I know Privacy for Cars yourself are going to be at NADA. I see at the bottom in the scroll a booth number that's scrolling along. Privacy for Cars will be at booth 6528N. I guess that's in the North Hall. Sarah and I will be out there as well. We're going to see you there. But in addition to shredding the personal data on the car, you're also going to be demoing a new solution that disconnects the prior owner's external accounts and connectivity. I know you're going to be showing it out there. Can you give us a little hint of what's coming here today?
I can give you that it's an amazing piece that we're putting together for Privacy for Cars, and we are going to be out there demoing it. And I invite everyone to come by the booth because it's going to be, again, I'm going to use the word, it's going to be a game changer for what we already have in our platform. It's going to be something that I think a lot of dealers are going to be very happy with.
Sarah, exciting times in the automotive industry.
It is, Ted, and all of these features that Privacy for Cars continues to innovate. It's just it's what the industry needs to protect our customers and protect ourselves.
Everyone, if you're going to Las Vegas it's next week. I can't believe it's here already. We'll be done with the month of January into February. Joe Homen is going to be out there. Privacy for Cars is in the North Hall, booth 6528N. Sarah and I will also be there. And if you're not going to NADA, you can reach them on the web at privacyforcars.com, the number 4 cars.com/dealers. You see that in the scroll down below. Joe, on behalf of the fixed ops community and the entire retail community, thank you for all you do to bring this to the surface and really give us a lot of awareness and show us a lot of things we should be doing right now to help protect ourselves and remain compliant.
Thank you. And I can't wait to see everyone at NADA.
All right. Joe Homen, everybody, with Privacy for Cars, here with us today at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
We had a customer who had an Audi for about 8 years, and it was their pride and joy. After much consideration, they decided it was time to replace that with the new one. It wasn't until about 2 weeks later when we called her that her plates were in that she realized, oh no, I left all my addresses and all my information in the car. At which point we easily diffused her by letting her know we partner with Privacy for Cars, and her data was gone from that car before it even saw the inside of our service shop.
If you're heading to NADA, this is something you don't want to miss. The Fixed Ops Roundtable is bringing our full professional media team to the show, and for a limited time, we're offering a complimentary media package to our partners and industry leaders. That means professional lighting, crystal clear audio, high quality video production. We're capturing real conversations, real insights, and real stories from the people shaping fixed operations right from the show floor. No awkward setups, no DIY videos, just polished, broadcast-ready content you can actually use. This is your opportunity to walk away from NADA with powerful video assets for LinkedIn, social, sales conversations, and brand visibility. Spots are limited, cameras will be rolling. If you're at NADA, make sure your story is part of this.
Our next speaker is on the edge of glory. It's Kaylee Felio with PartsEdge.
Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. I'm Sarah Vantine here with Ted Ings. Today we have Kaylee Felio of PartsEdge with us. And Ted, quite the topic of conversation. Parts has been on the mind of many people in our industry.
Sarah, we have Kaylee to thank for a lot of that, because even here at the roundtable, we never had enough parts information, and now that has all changed in the last few years. So Kaylee, thanks to you, and congratulations to PartsEdge, and welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Thank you. Yeah, I feel like I remember mine was like the only parts panel when it first started.
Yeah.
And it's really cool to see, because I've been with PartsEdge for about over 10 years, and just the conversation and how much it's changing. And it's not so much people are like, what, you want to talk about parts? People are like, actually want to talk about parts. So it's cool. It's cool to see.
And there's a lot of conversation about parts. And I think there was a time when also you were the only podcast on parts. That's not the case today. All right.
No, there's a couple more, but that's okay. That's good.
That's good. That's good. And you're certainly the longest running. Okay. We could definitely say that, right? On parts. But so bring us up to speed. Tell us about PartsEdge, because PartsEdge has really grown too. You're helping a lot of dealers. We had a panel, on this roundtable as well with some of your clients, and you're doing some great things with the industry.
Yeah, I feel like I kind of mentioned this before. What I've always appreciated about what we do is we've always focused and stayed in our lane and done a few things really, really well and executed really, really well. And I think that's what makes businesses and technology really successful, when you're not trying to be a bunch of different things for everyone. So that's really, I don't think I answered your question, but that's really what I love about the opportunity ahead in 2026. And I can't believe I just said that. It's crazy. 2026. But that's really what I'm excited about with the future of fixed ops and parts, really.
Sarah, what are you hearing? Because there is a lot of buzz about parts this year.
There is. And Ted, we keep going back to the conversations around some of the big conversations in the industry. There's concern about availability of parts and how do dealerships get more parts for the technicians to then work on the cars. There's a lot of recalls on the horizon, which we're talking about, and sourcing the parts. And again, just all those processes to make sure that we have all of the pieces in place for an excellent customer experience. And then, of course, the $1 trillion question: how much of that pie can a dealership obtain? And parts, we're seeing the projections, Ted, it's going to continue to be a very lucrative and very successful component for a lot of businesses, automotive parts. And OEMs, dealer retailers, they're a piece of that puzzle, but they can be an even bigger piece outside of their markets as well.
That's right, Kaylee, that parts availability, okay? It's no longer just the front counter and the back window of the service department, parts and service together. Parts are now mainstream, and you see what Amazon has done, with from originally books to now all consumer goods. I don't know where this goes, but parts is huge, and it's getting a lot of well-deserved attention. And then that attention also has to focus on the people in parts and the leadership and the managing skills as well.
Yeah, it really does. And I think it's such a skill that so many people, if you really look at the parts department and parts managers and their skill and what they enjoy, I just think it's overlooked because just talking just the conversation we just had, how it's not just simply ordering parts. It's really looking at data and seeing how can you make more profit. And it's not as simple as just stocking up. If you do that, you're probably going to have a lot of obsolescence. So I think when you think about availability, there's fear. You just have to look at the data ahead and see, what is an accurate day supply for certain types of parts. And so that's really, I think, what we need to focus on is, I'm going to say it again, data, and really looking at that to see what you need in your market and in your demand.
Scott Rutherford says a big part of it is making it look easy, and that's what the great managers do. So what are some of the things, Kaylee, that PartsEdge can help managers with, that you help managers with today? Because we come across people all the time. You and I were recently in Texas at the Snell Motor Company, and we met another one of your clients there, and they are longtime PartsEdge customers, and they were excited. Kaylee, everyone's excited to talk about parts this year.
That's so cool. Well, and I love that a lot of our clients have been with us for so many years. It's just so cool to see that. Because just out of the 3 that we just talked about, they've been like 10 plus years, I feel like. But shoot, I forgot the question. I had a good thought.
Things that you're working on that are ahead in 2026, because I know you shared some of those with us in the green room. I don't know what you could share with us, publicly here.
Yeah, I really want to emphasize the reporting that we offer because there's 2 components: is the setting up of the DMS and maintaining that whole process, and that takes a really I think it's really beneficial for new parts managers because a lot of times they don't know how to work that system. But then it's also beneficial for a more experienced parts manager because they get it and they're already trying to do it. But then there's the other component of reports and seeing how you can make action, returnable parts, non-returnable parts. You have the health of your inventory, your aging, all things that your DMS kind of does, or maybe your ASR program, your auto stock replenishment program like RIM or ARO. Just kind of throwing out names because ASR means different things for different people. So I like to translate that. But yeah, even though those systems have those reports, what I'm finding is our reporting has come such a long way to help parts managers take action and have the cleanest inventories and really see where the holes are in a way. So that's kind of one thing I wanted to point out is it's not just technology and making the DMS efficient. It's also there's a reporting component of what we do as well. So.
Yep. And Sarah, we see that as such an important component because a lot of times in the past, parts managers, maybe, weren't daily, or they should be focused daily on their inventory, but there are some dealerships where it's not a daily focus, and it's the ones who consistently do the same thing in and out every day and maintain that focus, Sarah, that really are ahead of the game.
Yeah,
it's so true, Ted. And the biggest piece, Kaylee, in talking about some of this reporting, not all reports are created equal in various DMSs. And even though the data is great information, there's a lot to be interpreted that only the skill of the parts manager and knowing, well, wait, I should pull this report versus this report.
And combining like 5 different reports into a spreadsheet. Yeah.
Yes. It's those little pieces that, Kaylee, are so important. And we're seeing that across the industry. It's understanding not only the data and what the subject matter is, but also why that report needs to be the way it is.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think, the one thing too is like, Ted, you mentioned sometimes dealerships, focus on it monthly, daily, what type. So like with ours, it just shows up. They don't have to remember to pull those reports. So that's another benefit. And then there's also, times where you want to dig in deeper, and that's when we get requests and, 5-10 seconds later, you have that report. Wow. So, but one thing I do want to point out, because my fear of bringing up reports, and, that's a piece of what we do, is that I never want PartsEdge to be looked at as just like another dashboard that doesn't do anything for you, because there's so much in the background that we do on the DMS that not a lot of technology companies actually can execute. They're executing on data so you can make action. Ours is a combination where the parts manager takes action, but then we're also taking action on the back end too. Oh. So I just don't feel like a lot of people realize that there's a lot of back end work that has to happen in the DMS that just the parts manager doesn't have to do. That's what PartsEdge does. So.
And I imagine you work with all the different DMSs because you've seen them all and work with all of them.
Yeah, and we actually have our very first integration with Dominion DMS. So they're the first ones that have been able to basically push and pull back. The other DMSs we're still working on, but that's one that can do it. So we're doing that, and it's really amazing to see.
And for a dealer or a manager, most likely a parts manager, fixed ops director, to be able to extract that data and make something of it, a lot of times they have it, but it's not useful. You help make it useful on a day-to-day basis. I don't know if you want to talk about that a little bit, but I think that's a real important topic for 2026 and beyond.
Yeah. I mean, there's a couple of things, being able to pull and analyze the data and push back the changes that need to happen is, I don't think a lot of people realize how much time that saves a parts manager and how much more it just makes it more efficient for them to basically see what they need to stock and what they don't need to stock. And by having that automation, you can really break down the data into what I always say is more file cabinets or more files within a file cabinet. And you can just do a lot more with it when you have that. But when it comes to the reporting, having that available to, like I said, do those returns that you need to do, look at the non-returnable parts, trying to think of, some forced stock. So that's kind of like your special orders, nothing that met your best stocking levels, just having that all right in front of your face so you can look at the detail and take action on it, just saves everyone time.
Sarah, these are all, the word is, we've been talking about efficiencies, right? PartsEdge makes you more efficient in parts and in service and overall. And Sarah, we're seeing a big focus on, making better use of time and becoming more efficient.
Efficiency is so important, Ted, and efficiency drives retention. It drives all of the other engines that make your business profitable. So Kaylee, this is so exciting to hear all of the innovations that are coming to PartsEdge, and then also all of the ways that you continue to help elevate parts managers and what they're focusing on in our industry.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm very excited.
Kaylee, just the way some other tools in our day-to-day lives, things like the the cell phone and the technology in our hand has made us all more efficient. PartsEdge is making us more efficient in the dealership and parts department and inventory. So thank you for all you do. And I realize that not every dealer in the country uses PartsEdge yet. If they want to get more information, I know you're on the web at partsedge.com, but you're also very active on social media as well. How do people reach out to you?
Yeah, if you're active on LinkedIn, you can find me there, Kaylee Felio. But if you're not, then reach out. Do we have my cell phone on here? Or just my email? That's fine. Yeah, my email. You can find me on our website as well. So yeah, just reach out, and I'm happy to collaborate and talk about the parts department with you.
Yeah, and thank you for all the many recordings and panels and interviews we've done. I know we're going to see you next week in Las Vegas at
Yes.
NADA.
Yes, thank you for bringing that up. We will be at NADA. We will not have a booth, but if you will be there and you would like to meet up, just let me know. And then, of course, I'll be around the Fixed Ops Roundtable when you guys are all there too. So it's going to be awesome to see everyone in person.
Kaylee will be a big part of that. And Sarah, I'm looking forward to that. We're going to have a lot of great conversations with Kaylee.
We will. It's going to be really exciting to be face-to-face and in person again, and lots of great discussion ahead.
All right. Kaylee Phil, everybody, Sales and Marketing Manager at PartsEdge.com, the resource in 2026 and beyond. Please reach out. Kaylee Filio with us here today at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Thank you.
Obsessed with creating the perfect inventory? Us too. PartsEdge gives you the tools you need to outpace the competition and provide the highest level of service to your customers. PartsEdge is a powerful tool for parts managers to get the job done faster. Imagine what it was like when the impact wrench arrived. It made mechanics 3 times faster. Getting the job done without the latest technology makes it difficult to keep up. Besides all the other responsibilities you have, you work hard to have all the right parts you need when you need them. PartsEdge was designed by parts people for parts people to make that job a lot easier. PartsEdge saves you 4 to 6 hours every week and can increase your sales by 10 to 20% in just 12 months. Not bad for your bottom line. Take your obsession to perfection with PartsEdge. Call us today to find out what PartsEdge can do for you.
It's insane. I'm so excited.
I am nervous because we took staunchly different approaches. It's going to be tough. It's going to be really tough.
I don't know. We'll see.
It's all up in the air, so I'm just excited to see what happens.
I'm in it to win it. I'm going to get that Best Northwood Student title and the winner of the intern, so Stephen better watch out.
I think I'm going to win.
Don't bring me down. Give an encore to remember as we welcome you back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable Rock Revolution event.
Fly Like an Eagle with Paul Elliott of IOA USA.
Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. I'm Sarah Vantine here with Ted Ings. Today we are with Paul Elliott of Insurance Office of America. And Ted, this topic has got a lot of conversation in the industry, but one that is increasingly more important for dealers to be paying attention to.
You're so right. We're ready for a risk and compliance overview. Some of the highlights today with Paul Elliott. Paul, welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
So glad to be here, Ted. You guys are the best in the business, and I always enjoy our conversations and always enjoy helping dealers.
You're very kind, and we appreciate you, and humbled to have you, grateful to have you, and Insurance Office of America. I think this is a conversation that needs to be had, and what a great place to do it here on the roundtable. And you and I and Sarah were chatting a little bit in the green room about some of the things we'll be discussing today. But really from a dealer's point of view, compliance, OSHA, things like mobile service that are now mainstream. A lot of dealers are doing that, and I think this is a good eye-opening way to start the new year. So, Paul, bring us up to speed and tell us a little bit about some of the things we'll be talking about here.
Yeah, so today, just in thinking about, we always try and put ourselves in the dealer's seat and think from their perspective. And that's hard to do, but that's what we try to do. And compliance is a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week job, in my opinion. And I say that because in many ways, that's how we protect our employees. That's how we protect our customers. And really, that's what we're in the business of doing. We want to make sure we take care of our employees, but our customers are our they're our lifeline. They're our revenue source. And anytime we're not compliant or we make mistakes for lack of compliance, we're giving away profit. And we're here to try and help a dealer keep all of the profit that he can.
And a lot of times these are things that could be negated early if they're addressed early. So Sarah and I want to talk to you about some of those things and just some interesting conversation starters. So here we are in fixed operations. Right now, a lot of dealers are focusing on service and parts and a lot of the opportunities there, but they need to be aware of some things that can be addressed. And Sarah, we've had some good conversations about that as well.
Yes, we have, Ted. And Paul, I understand that you're going to be sharing some really interesting data with us about some of the things that you're seeing, as far as like the top 5 OSHA violations that you're seeing in franchise dealerships. But I'd love to get your perspective. So, set the stage for us. Where are we in 2026, and what are the things that dealers need to be paying attention to?
So, it's always interesting. Again, I go back to it. Compliance never sleeps. So compliance is a habit. So it's either a good habit or a bad habit. And I think what we need to, my message would be to any dealership is this has to be a good habit. This has to be something that you invest in, you talk about, you make sure that there's some accountability with your staff and your team, because at the end of the day, if not, it's going to cost you money. It's going to cost you money. And like you said earlier, we've got the top 5 compliance violations for franchised auto dealers here on the screen, and there's probably not anything that just jumps out to a dealer to say, wow, that's surprising. But again, if there's not a focus on being compliant, it is going to cost you. And there are so many resources available to dealers from IOA, in our dealer practice group, from our carrier partners, from centers of influence or third-party vendors we use. There's a ton of resources available to the dealer to assist with compliance. And I would just encourage any dealer to reach out to their broker, to their centers of influence, to vendors, to make this a point of priority. Now, I think I need to try and answer your question. I think one of the things that we see most often would be, the warranty fraud or improper warranty claim submissions. We do see that quite a bit. And, fraud is a bad term in the insurance industry because insurance policies typically do not cover fraud. Right. It's excluded. Right. And so, there are some things we can provide to a dealer to help in that defense. and maybe that's a topic for another day. But I would say to you, the warranty fraud and the improper warranty claim submissions would be what I know it's not listed first, but that's what I would say is the most common, the one I see the most. And then second would be the environmental piece.
Yes. And warranty is really at the top of the order right now, Paul, because there's so much technology in these vehicles, and warranty is a huge chunk of revenue for the dealer that they have to claim, and they've got to be compliant. And that's a huge part of the warranty process. And a lot of dealers in recent years have applied for warranty increases if their state allows that. It's different state by state, but that's increased their warranty on labor and on parts. And of course, there's been some inflation, to say the least, the last couple of years. Technicians are now making more money. So there's a lot of money at stake with this warranty, Paul.
And warranties now, as you mentioned, Ted, I'm in the process of buying a vehicle as we speak, and the technology on cars now. Any person who doesn't buy a warranty or an extended service contract, that's a poor business decision for the buyer. Some people may say that the dealer, is they're just trying to make money. Well, I think in today's world, that's a fantastic strategy for a dealer from a risk management standpoint. Hey, Mr. Buyer, we're trying to protect you, but all this computer technology, the cameras, it's just there's so much going into a vehicle now, and in the future, I think we're even going to see more technology driven by Wi-Fi, or I'm not sure Wi-Fi is the right, but it's going to just be downloaded automatically into the system, just like my phone. I'll get an update on my phone that it's updating my phone, and then my phone looks different overnight because it's updated the phone. And I think we're going to see some of the same things with vehicles, and that could actually cause problems for people.
Yes.
So you have to be seen. But those are things that we should all be thinking about going forward. And to your point, the warranties are super important for the buyer and for the dealer.
I had an attorney on. I'm sorry, Sarah, recently that mentioned to me that a manufacturer was doing an update, on the vehicles, and they set it, Sarah, for 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning on that local time zone. But he was handling a case where a customer had to go to the hospital at that hour, right? And the software was being updated, And anyway, I won't go through the whole story, but these things happen, right? And it's a whole new world that we're in, Sarah.
It is, Ted. And Paul, I want to come back for a second, to just expand on the warranty claim submission piece of it, because, a lot of our dealers that are listening, we have quite the audience. We have a lot of fixed ops directors, but we also have general managers and partners that are listening as well. And, we live in a very litigious society. That's the reality of where we are today. And, I think maybe there isn't an awareness, a dealer, as they're going through this, may not realize the implications that this could have on their franchise or their brand or their, what's going on with their customers. So I'd love to get your perspective, with IOA, what are the pieces, as you're helping a dealer navigate this conversation, what are the typical kinds of things that you see when it comes to warranty claim submission not being done correctly? Is it things like single-use parts? Is it improper documentation, on the repair orders? Like how does this typically kind of get started?
So there's a couple that I think that we've seen the most in the past. No, I think probably one of the first ones is we see where warranties have been filed improperly, and when I say maybe from the buyer standpoint, they believe they've been overbilled, or the OEM or the warrant, feels like they've been overbilled. And so there's a lot of back and forth on the charges associated with the warranty claim and how the labor's paid or how the parts are paid. And so what happens with that is if you have enough claims, or if you have enough exposure there, what happens is it turns into class action, or it could turn into class action. And that's where it becomes the big exposure. Okay. And in our litigious society, as you mentioned, that we live in, I'm not sure if you're familiar with private litigation funding, but in today's world, you have private equity funding litigation.
Oh,
really?
For a return on the litigation. So private equity has turned litigation into a profit center for them. And a lot of people don't understand, but it's rampant. I mean, it is a big business. And, when a law firm has an open bank account to go after, whether it's legitimate or not, when they've got the money to come after you, then it's they're not investing because they don't think there's an opportunity to make money. They're investing in that case to get a return. And, that is something that is happening not only in this space, but across the entire industry, right? And at the end of the day, that increases cost for everyone, not just the defendant. I mean, when those types of claims are settled, it's kind of like you've heard the phrase, a rising tide increases, all boats. Well, these type of lawsuits increase rates for all of us, not just some of us, but all of us.
I had no idea, Paul, what you just said, and that makes perfect sense. And there's probably a pretty good ROI for the private equity on those ventures. So very, very interesting and eye-opening. So see, Paul, that's why this is a big topic here, right, at Fixed Ops Roundtable, and you're bringing this to light. So thank you for doing that.
I would encourage people, if you've never heard of private litigation funding, you should probably, Google it, Chat GPT it, Copilot it, whatever you're using these days. And it's a fascinating topic, and frankly, it's something we need to all go to our congressional leaders and have some conversation about.
Yeah, that's good advice. That's great advice. All right, so you've got the top 5 compliance violations, starting off with the repair order, which is a legal document, and then, as you mentioned, that warranty probably being on the higher end of the spectrum, I can imagine, and the environmental and hazardous waste handling violations. Just so many things to be concerned about, and now that the multi-point inspection I see you've got on there has become a mainstream event every time a vehicle comes in the shop, and we've got technicians now, Paul, doing videos, talking directly to the customer. It's a whole new world, right? And, while these are great things for the industry, there is a tendency that, some of that work might be over-recommended, as I see there.
And the other thing I would add is there's got to be fantastic, great documentation always. There's got to be documentation. And some people would tell you, well, documentation can hurt you. Yeah, I mean, it can. But if you're doing it the right way, it will never hurt you. It will never hurt you. It allows you to adjust to, if you see something, then you can fix it. You can fix it. It doesn't get worse. Documentation, very, very important.
Can I move on to the next slide
Yes,
here? Yeah, documentation. Yep, here we go. Top 5 OSHA violations, franchised auto dealers. Look at this.
Paul, I think, this slide, and as we were talking in the green room, I know this stood out to me directly because, as we're having this conversation again for our dealers that are listening, we think about all these pieces in our service departments, and we think about it in the lane, and we think about it back in the shop, but there's a lot of this that transcends those departments, and our sales departments, some of the F&I offices, different places in the dealership that, maybe aren't as top of mind when we think about exposure or potential risks. So I'd love to get your perspective, as with these top 5 OSHA violations specifically, when you're helping, dealers navigate this, what kinds of pieces does IOA, look at with this?
So there's a couple. Obviously, hazard communication. To me, if anyone's familiar with safety data sheets, we have the safety data sheets that we can provide to dealers, and that's maybe a conversation really for a deeper for another day. What I'd like to really focus on is PPE noncompliance, and that the first one. That's PPE is personal protection equipment. So we're talking about earplugs, safety glasses. If you have a body shop and maybe you have or maybe you have a rollback, you've got the neon vest that are to be worn when they're out of the unit. So any type of personal protection equipment, number one, it protects your employees. Okay. Nobody wants to send, I've said it before, this kind of relates to maybe workers' compensation, but nobody wants one of your employees to lose an eye because they didn't have goggles, because they didn't have glasses on. Like that's something we all control. And, we have to create the culture that we're doing this to protect you, not to punish you. This is to protect you. This is not Big Brother. This is just one of those things where we're just trying to help you stay safe so you can go home to your family and you can continue to provide for your family. And at the end of the day, your employees are your family. They're your business family. These guys are turning the wrenches to make money for themselves and for the dealership. So personal protection equipment is one. And I think we talked about in the green room, it's important to have buy-in from your team. So we had a dealer who knew he had a problem. We talked about it. He was all in to, hey, we put a plan together to fix it. We brought in a carrier partner to go out and do an inspection and kind of, get some data so we could go back and then put a plan together and implement safety. And we were met by the service manager, and we put on our safety glasses and we put on the earplugs, and he goes, don't worry about it. You don't need that. Well, that's the problem. So we never even made it into the service department. We turned around and went back to the dealer and said, hey, there's more to this. We've got to do a little bit more work internally here to get to the next step. So that's kind of an unusual case, but I think that's a good example for this discussion. Yes. And then, now, we're going to be just past the Christmas holidays, and electrical safety. I mean, when I saw that pop up, I think we mentioned it, and maybe, but first thing I thought of is Chevy Chase and Christmas Vacation and all those utility cords going everywhere. But we all know or have seen utility cords stretching across a service department or maybe an area where a service technician is working, and it just creates the next topic, which is slip, trip, and fall exposure for your employee and then for a customer, because the customer's not familiar with the area. Like maybe that technician is, and so it's almost a habit where they avoid a trip over a cord. But we're just increasing exposure if we're bringing customers into the service area by having anything laying on the ground or anything that would create a slip, trip, or fall. The other thing I would say is if you've got areas where maybe you have a slight ramp of some sort, I would encourage you to have some type of non-slip tape or surface there, because I live in the South. It's humid. The doors are open in the summer, and you're going to get condensation almost always.
Yes.
In these departments, and it creates it turns slippery. And I can't tell you how many times we've had repetitive slips in service departments in the exact same area, and it shouldn't take 5, 6, 7 slips, trips, or falls for us to take action and it's very easy to prevent it. So probably enough on that. But yeah, these are things that again are controllable. IOA has the resources, whether we're your broker or not. We can help you. I would encourage people. Our contact information's here on the screen. Happy to serve people and help them and tell them how we might solve some of their issues or provide solutions for their problems.
Paul Elliott is a great resource, a great sounding board, if you will, as well. And he knows the retail automotive industry. Paul, I want to ask you, and Sarah wants to ask you about one more thing that's been really top of mind, especially the last couple of years. And now it seems in the last year, it's coming into a whole new area. The mobile service growth in our industry, dealers starting with one van, then two, and then three. And now we're at a point where dealers see this as a huge growth area, and it is. It's convenient for the customer, and it's ripe for risk. And if you want to address that, there's a number of things you've got on the screen here as well.
So there's one thing, and this is not as easy to do. But if you have a mobile service department, the first thing I would encourage you to do is, have a designated route every day. Like you have to take the time to have a designated route. It can't be, just go from here to there. It needs to be planned. That's the point. It needs to be planned. And when you're planning that, this is even harder to do, but I would encourage you to have all right-hand turns if possible. It is. I can give you data on the increased exposure to accidents for left-hand turns, and I mean, if you've never studied, it would blow you away. But it's greater than 60%.
Wow.
In some cases, it's 90%. It increases the risk of accidents, and so when that happens, there's a couple things that we should think about. Number one, again, mobile service is for the dealership to drive revenue. That's what it's there for. If we have a unit go down, we lose the ability for that unit to earn revenue. It has to be replaced. And then that's not to mention we pulled out in front of someone and caused damage to their vehicle. And then there's a liability exposure to that. Sure. And then we got to check the MVR. And if they've got prior accidents, then the cost of the claim goes up. And I can go on and on about the exposure. The point is, I think this is going to continue to be a growth area for dealers because as a customer myself, it's convenient. I work, I travel. It's super convenient for me to dial up a dealer and just have them come take care of my service. And I saved a bunch of time. And I really like it. But there are some things from a dealership standpoint that they need to do to make sure they are compliant and safe. That's one of them. The improper lifting and the jacking conditions. I can tell you right now, to be fair and transparent, I don't have enough data on that particular topic. I haven't really seen any claims from that standpoint yet, so I can't really speak to that. But if it's listed here, it's a problem, okay? And there's always people smarter than me, so maybe we save that for another day.
And Paul, service managers are telling Sarah and I that the greatest area of growth for their dealerships is outside the dealership walls. Mm-hmm. That means going out into the world, real world, and going and performing these services, whether it's in a customer's driveway or whether it's for a fleet of vehicles for example, rentals, that are at the airport, fleets, working on them overnight while the vehicles are down. Lots of room for exposure here and things we need to address.
And I would tell you, we're certainly a resource for any dealer. Yeah. We're happy to help in that area. And I can tell you that we're working with several of our carrier partners to put together a program. I shouldn't say program, guidelines centered around mobile service, because
that'd be a big hit, Paul. Big
yeah,
hit.
it's
Very timely.
It's going to be. I think there's a great future in the industry for mobile service. I really do. I'm a big fan of it.
Yeah.
Well, and Paul, it sounds like too, I mean, what you're describing with that, a lot of dealers that are listening today, these policies, as vehicles continue to evolve and the technology continues to evolve and where we're doing the work evolves, it sounds like they need to be mindful of what kind of policies they need to carry in order to protect themselves and their employees as they go out into the world. I imagine there's a lot of different intersections that you have to be aware of, or you could be on the hook for that coverage.
100%. From a liability standpoint, now we're leaving our premises. We have to make sure we have completed operations coverage, which dealers do, but it's a different exposure than traditionally. Like we're now, there's some guys, well, I think Ted, last time you mentioned you know somebody who has 40 mobile units, 40 plus.
I know someone who has 40. Yes.
Yeah. So now you've got 40 people away from the premise, or 40 units or more away from the premises, and your liability is at every one of those premises.
Yes.
Okay.
And in some cases, 2 people on that truck.
Right. And they're stopping generally. Surely they're going more than one place a day, I would hope.
All day long they're going. That's right. They load them up the night before with parts, and off they go in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I saw recently that one dealer doing repair orders in a day. They broke a record. I think it was either 100 or 200. I mean, big numbers they're doing now. So this is growing and growing. So.
And then on the flip side, there's the completed operations piece, but then also the vans themselves. That's in some states they have to be tagged differently. There's certain things you have to do to make sure they're insured properly, and then the property off premises. You've got your building and your contents, and you've got property there at the dealership, but you've got a lot of property or investment in the van. And you got to make sure that you have the proper coverage for what's inside the van. You saw the bullet point there, theft. Yeah, I mean, hey, look, once the thieves figure out there's value in these vans, or there's some value there, there's gonna be theft. You got to make sure you cover properly for that. It's called property in transit or property away from premises. Check your policy. Make sure you have enough.
Everyone, if you want to reach out to Paul Elliott, you can see his contact information scrolling across the bottom of the screen. Paul, next week, Sarah and I are going to be at the NADA show in Las Vegas. We'd love to have you join us on the stage there and, talk some more about these things, and maybe take some questions as well there and live in person. And I think we're going to have some dealers with us on the stage. And I see a real ripe opportunity, I think, for the industry to talk about these things very candidly. And I think you're the man to lead that conversation, my friend.
Well, I appreciate that, Ted. Again, we're honored to be part of the Fixed Ops Roundtable. Can't wait to see y'all next week at NADA. And, let's just make sure we all continue to serve our dealers and the Fixed Ops Roundtable in the best way we can. And I appreciate y'all so much. Y'all taught me so much, and just a great, you're just great for the industry.
Everybody, if you're not going to NADA, whether you are or not, Paul is reachable. You could see at IOA USA. The dealer practice group, his email scrolling at the bottom on the screen. You can reach them on the web. He's on social media. As you see, he's become extremely active now. I watch his videos and watch his tips. And again, if you happen to be next week in Las Vegas, come by and see us, and we'll make sure that we do that. But Paul, you're a great ally for the industry. Insurance Office of America, great friend. You know the industry in and out, so appreciate all you do.
Well, hey, thank y'all. And if I can get half as good as you and Sarah on these videos, it's going to be great.
I think, Sarah, we got to be on the lookout, because I think Paul's heading there. All right. Great way to start the year, everybody. Take a look at your risks and be aware of them, and make sure you're preventative in 2026. Paul Elliott, everybody. He's a risk management specialist with Insurance Office of America, here with us today at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
It's kind of a mix between a sense of pride and solving a problem.
When you are taking on a multi-million-dollar investment, you have one opportunity to do this right.
When the Jim Ellis team came to us, and when really any of our clients come to us, they say, hey, here's this box that this brilliant architect put together, and we need you to help us come up with the best flow put, the best throughput, and really the best design to help us maximize our efficiency in our service department. So when you walk into a finished project like this and you see your design and your layout, the equipment that the team put in, it's a really cool feeling.
Pride. It's just incredible that our small little company can accomplish something this grand, and we do it day in and day out.
"98% of customer experience is how well or how poorly you communicate." Well, how come my software partners spend 98% of their development on workflows? What if they spent 100% of their time on workflows and we spent 100% of our time on communication? Then we'd be able to truly create transformative experiences for customers, and that's what True Video does.
You've heard of betting in the Jets. Now, Revolution Parts is here to debut their panel, AI in the Parts Department.
Welcome to Revolution Parts. I'm Sarah Vantine of the Fixed Ops Roundtable. Today we're going to be talking about AI in the parts department, and our panelists have some incredible information for our retailers. We have Austin Betty of Murfreesboro Nissan here with us today, and Ben Hennick of Revolution Parts. Ben and Austin, welcome to the Roundtable and the Revolution Parts panel.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, everyone, just to dive right in, Ben, I'd like to come to you first and just kind of set the stage for what's going on. There's a lot of conversation around AI, but specifically AI in the parts department. That hasn't been a conversation that a lot of retailers have been having. So I'd love to get your perspective looking ahead. How do you see AI reshaping the parts department and how they're run?
Well, I see that the ability for customers, when they call into the dealership, to have their phone call routed using AI to the correct place in the parts department. Sometimes it may be a wholesale customer, it may be a retail customer, and those two customers, they don't really have a whole lot in common on what they want. So using AI can route the call and actually convert the conversation from the customer into a text message that is easily answered. For a parts department, it's really difficult to get on the phone and juggle all of your customers in your service department all at the same time. So this can give the parts counterman the ability to answer the customer quickly and efficiently.
It's great information, Ben. And a follow-up question, if I may. So, with what you're describing with text messages, how many different types of rooftops are you seeing, utilize that? Is it, more, certain OEMs like domestic brands? Or are you seeing it across, all brands?
It's across all brands, honestly. I mean, it's used heavily in sales, heavily in service, and parts is no different. There are systems that will allow the customer communication to be carried out in this fashion that I think more and more customers prefer to deal with, rather than sitting on hold for an undetermined amount of time, and then quite possibly their conversation kind of gets all out of whack. And one of the other great things about that is AI actually is recording the conversation. So there's a record for later retrieval in case you don't always remember having a verbal conversation on the phone. So
That's very true, Ben. And Austin, in thinking about these pieces, I'd love to get your perspective. How are you using AI at Murfreesboro Nissan, and how do you see it reshaping the way parts departments operate?
So speaking from experience, we do use a system very similar to what Ben was referring to. Customer calls, can't get a hold of the parts department, whether it's after hours, whether it's busy time, people are at lunch, whether you got customers in front of you on the phone, for whatever reason, can't get to the phone. So it's like a safety net for us. They call, try to reach the parts department, can't get a hold of parts. AI responds via text message. This is so-and-so at Borough Nissan. Sorry, we missed your call. How can we help you today? And it's a text message response. And then we each have it on our desktops where we see that. We know it's going to happen, so we have to monitor that. We respond via text back. I've found it pretty funny. You'll try to pick up the phone and call, but most of the time people want to text back. So, we're somewhat of a human in the loop in that aspect of it. And it's a great, like I said, safety net for us. Multiple levels to AI in the parts department. You got to be open-minded. It's something that you've got to be willing to accept. And when people hear AI, it can mean a lot of different things, but we've learned to treat it as a thought partner here at our dealership. We use AI for lots of different things, whether it's new car customers, reaching out to them. Congratulations, Ben, on your purchase of your 2025 Nissan Sentra. Here's a link to our e-commerce page where you can not only order parts, but you can save right now for being a valued customer. So if it wasn't for AI, that would be a big task to try to accomplish. So, yes, it definitely shapes us in that direction.
Well, and Austin, I love what you're saying about it. And, what I'm hearing is it really is a force multiplier for your employees across all of your different departments, and especially in parts. And so a follow-up question, if I may, as AI becomes, more embedded in dealership operations, what role do you see it playing in the training aspects and the upskilling of parts department teams?
So once again, viewing AI as a thought partner, I can personally go in and say, build a training platform for a new employee. We hire different employees at different levels. Obviously, we want seasoned veterans in our dealership, but that doesn't always happen. So it's good to get people that come from different parts of the automotive world, whether it's aftermarkets, whether it's independent repair facilities, or never been in the automotive world. So imagine how much time it takes to train that employee. So that's one level of it. I can literally say, build me a training platform. The goal is to get to this level at this point. And, let's recap after this amount of days and see what we've learned and see how you've applied it in your day to day. Another thing we personally do now is, let's say we're in the market of targeting customers, or not necessarily targeting customers, but wanting to help customers that have maintenance items. So a customer calls on the phone, we're talking to them on the phone, and they're talking about brakes, they're talking about drive belts, they're talking about coolant. If we have done our homework and did these training platforms that are available to us through AI, hey, this week we're training on maintenance items. Why is it important to replace brake pads at a certain miles? Why is it important to replace your drive belt at a certain miles? Our counter people are very comfortable having those conversations with these people over the phone. Hey, how many miles are on your car? Oh, you've got 15,000 miles on it. I know you're doing this, but you know that Nissan also recommends this. Not everybody's an expert when it comes to their brand or their things, but AI can literally teach you that right then in a quick, easy to learn format at your own time space. And another way I look at it on the variable side, if you're training on Nissan Sentras all day long, walking around Nissan Sentras, more than likely your Sentra sales are going to go up next week because you've learned about that. So bringing that over to the parts world, when it comes to maintenance, when it comes to suspension, you can train on those weekly and build weekly training platforms for your team. It's only going to increase sales.
Well, and Austin, I'm thinking about all of the different ways that it, again, it really helps parts managers and it helps
Mhm.
a lot of different managers have that opportunity because, Ben, as this conversation continues to unfold, it's very clear that, in a lot of dealerships, it is challenging with all of the retail responsibilities that go into a parts department every single day that they have to get orders out, they have to coordinate drivers, they have to look at all of these different capacities for their employees. But in this embedded dealership operations, it's really becoming more and more important for AI to be part of that training and upskilling capacity.
Yeah, absolutely. And AI is an excellent note taker for whenever you're doing a training webinar or something from the manufacturer. Sometimes their notes are not exactly great. They'll give you a PDF of what the training module was supposed to be like. But if you had the AI taking notes and offering up suggestions and things while the live trainer is speaking. So then you can actually go back later, as Austin said, and you can you can learn at your own pace.
And Ben, thinking about this across different operations, right? We have, single point organizations, we have multi-store groups, and this is, AI can really benefit, both. But I'd love to get your perspective, Ben, because you see a lot of different dealership sizes, you see a lot of different OEMs. So how can AI help smaller or resource-strapped parts department compete with larger operations or national e-tailers?
Yeah, again, it's the same thing as I said before with answering emails and handling phone calls and routing of drivers. That's one of the greatest things. You can have 2 to 3 guys that are running a parts department, and they may have a few drivers and a pretty good wholesale department. Well, AI built into certain programs will help those drivers route to the correct and most efficient way to get to the customer. Whereas before, you had to stop what you were doing at the parts counter, go back to the driver area, and tell everybody where to go. In this case, that saves you a lot of time. So those ancillary functions are what AI can take up.
Austin, I'd love to get your perspective on this. How are you using AI, to compete with some of these larger operations in your market or national e-tailers?
Whether you're big or small, AI is obviously a benefactor. It can help you in so many ways. Just this morning, speaking on the wholesale side of it, I got in on chat and discussed, we're X amount wholesale per month. We're wanting to grow. We have X amount of drivers. This is our market. We're an aggressive market. These are the tools I have. How can you help me grow further than I am? And within minutes, I had a 60-day growth action calendar, a driver training script, and a new shop onboarding packet for my drivers to hand out. So to me, that would have taken months and a lot of phone calls to get all that information that I got within seconds. And like Ben was saying, routing your drivers, it can be frustrating. You got to, we're a pretty decent sized operation, have a lot of moving pieces. And when you've got a lot of moving pieces, not everybody knows where everybody is at the exact time. So having those tools where you can pull up and say, oh, my driver just left so-and-so, he's on his way to so-and-so, he'll be to you next. Without AI, I don't think you would have been able to do that.
Austin, it's incredible to hear what you're saying, because if I caught that right, you created process manuals for your parts department for a question, and then also, really a 30, 60, 90-day plan, all
Yes, ma'am.
using AI in a matter of seconds. You had everything that you needed at your fingertips to really make that actionable change to hit and to start hitting, those objectives that you set for yourself.
And that's just one side of the business. We're just speaking on the wholesale side. You could do that for e-commerce. You can do it for retail. You can do it for, your service lane. You can do it for new car customers. It's unlimited.
Well, and a follow-up question on this subject, because all of this ultimately is going to impact the customer experience in their, in their buying journey, whether it's, selling a car, when they're purchasing a vehicle, when they are coming in for the service of that vehicle, or even, across their household with, if they have other vehicles in their rooftop. In what ways are you seeing AI transform the customer buying experience for online parts shoppers?
So traditionally, customers would get on Google or whatever their cup of tea was, and they would search 2024 Nissan Altima headlight, and information would come up, whether it's right or wrong. Customer would then search that information. Hopefully, you do a good job, and you pop up as one of the suppliers for that 2024 Nissan Altima headlight. And then it's our job to make sure that they have the right information. So, fast forward to now, customers are literally taking pictures of parts. They don't know what they are. They're able to identify what these parts are, and they're able to find, hopefully, people like us that do stuff with Revolution Parts and order parts through our e-commerce platform. And, it's great. It's a great thing, and people are going to continue to progress. So as dealers, we have to be able to progress with, the technology.
Yeah, to kind of build on that, as Austin was speaking earlier about creating job training manuals and so on, you can also use AI for customer experience for wholesale customers, building flyers and other promotional materials and email campaigns. Sometimes we find that, as Austin was saying before, it made his job so much easier, because in just a little bit of time, you have it all laid out in front of you. But we all know that when we are trying to come up with a witty or creative flyer or anything, we get this writer's block. Well, this AI can you just feed in kind of your parameters, and you just free flow whatever you want. And it can help fill in those gaps and proofread, because not all of us are English majors and have perfect grammar and so on. So it can fill in those gaps, and help write product categories. You might have some parts that it just says bolt, but you can feed in some information into AI, and it can give you a beautifully written description that you can then upload, and that's more attractive to the consumer.
Well, and Ben, to ask another question on that subject, you touched on some of these pieces with how the inventory is, described online, and how that can separate, really that retailer from another retailer that maybe is not utilizing AI for some of those other pieces. What have you seen, really kind of set the bar in terms of like must-haves that really help the customer have a positive experience in dealerships when they're looking to purchase online?
Well, with as again Austin specified earlier with the Google searching, the better the description of the product is, and the more tailored it is for your dealership or your e-commerce platform, it can actually produce better search results and put you at the top of the heap for customers. Just that buying experience, whether it's being able to see an accessory on your vehicle. Say you want to buy some wheels and you want to see what the wheels look like on your car. Now with AI, you can do those sorts of things.
That's incredible. And it's, Austin, this is also a component of the conversation, just to pivot a little bit. But, as you touched on how you use AI to enhance what you're doing with your parts teams and, the wholesale side of the business, that example that you gave with, coming up with that plan and feeding that information into AI to really, give your parts department more opportunities to really hit the goals that you have for this year. There's a lot of maybe dealers that are on the flip side of this, and they're thinking about, well, this is concerning because I've been in this position and I've been at this dealership for a long time, or maybe they're, hearing, from an owner or service director or somebody else in the organization that is concerned about, the belief that AI could eventually replace people in the dealership and, remove their job, from this entire opportunity and that customer experience. So Austin, I'd love to get your take. Is AI a threat to jobs, or is it a tool to enhance them?
So it's funny you asked that because yesterday I got an email from a company that's promoting a robot that can deliver parts to your technicians, which is pretty funny to think about. But when you step away and really look at the big picture, what is it trying to achieve? It's trying to achieve performing a task that necessarily is not necessarily needed for a human being to do. It's GPS coordinates that it gets you apart from one shelf to a technician. It keeps your technician productive. It allows you to do other things. And, if you view AI as a threat, that's the wrong mindset. Once again, I'm mentioning this word, you got to think of it as a thought partner when it comes to what you're trying to achieve. So in the parts department, everybody knows it's a relationship driven business. People call specific places to talk to specific people. AI is never going to replace that. You've built those relationships. Hopefully you did a good job over the years. And you can't replace that personable side of the parts business.
Ben,
yeah, I agree. There's Austin couldn't have said it any better. I mean, certain jobs may become obsolete, but there will always be a need for a well-trained parts advisor or warehouse employee. Some decisions AI cannot make on the spot, utilizing a personal touch. A human being can sense when they're seeing a person in front of them, whether they're upset or sad or happy or angry or any of that. AI is not going to be able to replace a human being for that personal action. There's no way. And I don't think AI will take away everyone's job, but it will make people's lives easier by taking up those jobs that are just, boring and mind numbing.
Well, and Ben, I'm thinking 25 years ago, we didn't have smartphones at our fingertips like we do today. And now, I can't imagine going anywhere. To check in for a flight, to do whatever I need to do. Everything is right on my screen. It's right as part of my device. And Ben, I'm imagining, this is AI specifically is going to be like that when it comes to the parts e-commerce business going forward.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like the use of Google Lens, as Austin talked earlier, you could take a photograph of a part. You're not able to describe it over the phone to the parts guy. You're just not going to be able to do it, but it's broken and it's in front of you. You could take that photo and it will literally put out the part number for you. So that way you can give it to the parts person via text, email, or some other AI form. And the parts advisor can give you an accurate quote and time to be delivered.
We're here today with Austin Betty, the parts manager of Murfreesboro Nissan, and Ben Hannock, the e-commerce performance specialist at Revolution Parts. We're talking about AI in the parts department. And Austin and Ben, this has been an incredibly informative conversation, and one that I imagine we're going to continue to have in 2026.
Yes, ma'am.
Absolutely, without a doubt.
Everyone, our listeners today, if you want to learn more about AI in the parts department, you can reach out to Revolution Parts today. Revolution Parts, you can reach at revolutionparts.com. Reach out, schedule a conversation. And gentlemen, thank you so much for being part of it today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Everyone, AI in the parts department here today at Revolution Parts.
Hey guys, Nick Lawrenson, CEO of Alpha Drive. If you're looking for AI at your service department, here's the truth. Not all BDC AI is built to complete the job. A lot of solutions out there only handle a fraction of the calls and then transfer them back to your internal staff, defeating the purpose of you having AI in the first place. If you want good AI, as you're doing your research to find the perfect AI company, look for a company that has a high appointment conversion. At least 55% of your calls should be converted into an appointment. Look for a company that has a high first call resolution and isn't transferring all the calls back to you. You want less than a 25% transfer rate back to your dealership. And third, look for a company that has a high customer satisfaction, and the AI should be grading that for you. If you want all three of those things and you want to stop your search right now, contact Alpha Drive AI today, alphadriveai.com. Look forward to talking to you. Thank you.
Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. My name is Julia Dim. I'm here with Sarah Vantine, and today we are at the Suburban Collection LITHIA pop-up event here in Troy, Michigan. And it's been a great day, don't you think, Sarah?
I agree, Julia. We've had a lot going on today, and we're going to be talking with this incredible group of panelists today about customer experience and technology. Panelists, I'd love to have you all introduce yourselves real quick to our audience that's listening today, and tell us just a bit about what you do and your company.
Hi, my name is Carl Murphy. I'm the CEO of Get Spiffy, and we provide infrastructure for dealerships to launch mobile services.
Sean Kingery, Vice President of Fixed Operations for the Kaiser Automotive Group.
And I'm Cobi Collins, Vice President of Client Experience for GoTrago. We are an assessment organization to help dealerships put the right people in the right roles the first time.
I'm Ed Roberts, COO and GM of Bozard Ford Lincoln in Sac State, Florida.
Troy Blackwell, EVP of Spiffy Mobile Service.
Thank you so much. For our first question, where are dealers underutilizing technology in fixed ops?
I'll take that run to begin with. The dealers a lot of times will look for technology to fix a broken process. And then we realize after we get rolling with it, that it didn't necessarily get to where we wanted it to be. And it's because the process is still broken. And so a lot of times we have to look inward first, correct the processes, and then look for technology that creates the efficiencies to go along with that.
You know, I think on my side or our side, and where Ed and I spend most of our time, we all look for an AI option for BDCs that we struggle with. That probably we haven't all found the right tool yet. And, you know, Ed and I spent a lot of time today talking about, you know, people struggle with challenges and changes. And again, to Ed's point, we don't need another tool to fix a process that people aren't going to use. We have enough tools. We have the tools we need. We need to use the tools we have and then move on from there.
Cobi, I'd love to get your perspective because, you know, as we're talking about customer experience and, you know, technology is certainly a huge important component of it, but there's elements with technology that really help give the dealer a better ROI. So, you know, starting what you're doing at GoTrago, what do you see as being the technology that's given dealers the greatest opportunity to get their return on investment?
Well, we'll always tell you it's the people, Sarah. So, right, the right people are the ones who know how to use the technology. And you're so right. I fully agree. We have so much information coming at us constantly, but do we know how to practically and correctly apply that information? And how fast can we apply it correctly? And so that's what we like to look at is, I mean, it is science that we use to look at people to know who can really adapt as fast as we need them to, because technology without the people behind it is not going to solve the problems we're after. Obviously, in an engine, it's a different story, right? But people are still designing the technology. So when you have the right people strategy and then you begin to apply the technology and AI, and you've got to have people who know how to use the AI. AI is not going to replace anyone on your team, but AI will replace, or people will be replaced by the people who can use the AI. So that's what we let you know is who can and who can't.
Well, Carl and Troy, you know, thinking about this, you know, as we're seeing the customer expectations increase, I mean, we're seeing technology be at customers' fingertips when they're choosing to buy car, service a vehicle. What are you seeing, you know, technology-wise that's giving dealers that edge over their competition?
Well, a big topic is mobile services, which we provide a lot of technology for. Being able to go to the consumer's driveway and solve the problem, whether it's a warranty, a recall, or an oil change, or any number of services. Customers are super excited by the convenience that brings. And to do that well, and to do that at scale requires technology. So I think that's something we see a lot happening.
Yeah, just to add on, I think technology just as a whole is underutilized software that happens in dealership world today. And, you know, coming from the dealership side of the business, I would walk into locations and I would say, which GM or fixed op signed this long-term contract?
Yes. Yeah.
And it's just being underutilized. I mean, there's some great software companies out there, but historically, though, it's very underutilized. Some people are only using like 10%. So I know as our company, we come in and we spend a lot of time consulting, educating, working alongside, because we may not have all the answers, but can we tailor and take some of that feedback and apply it to our software?
And Julia, we're talking a lot about automation in the industry too.
Right. So with that being said, if you could automate just one task in the service department, what would you automate?
Ooh, just one task.
It's It would be the ability to set an appointment without a human involved.
Oh, what does it say?
Yeah, we have, and that's one thing that Spiffy helps us with immensely is to allow us to be able to create an online appointment. And we're so stuck in time in the dealership from that standpoint, and we feel like we got to have our human fingers in everything. That there is technology that can already do those things, and if it can already do those things, it's integrated where it can benefit us all.
And Ed stole that, 'cause again, that's what I said at the beginning. It's AI. It's the BDC side of it. You know, when you call the airlines, the last person you want to talk to actually is a human. You want to talk to the computer to reschedule or rebook your flight. But as Ed said, we as humans and our clients, they struggle with that change. They don't like the change, no matter what voice is going to come across. We've struggled for 10 years getting clients to even schedule online, which, you know, it's less than 10%. And that tool is so easy with Xtime or whatever scheduling tool you're using, that the tool is out there to use. You can schedule whatever you want, but they still choose to let the phone ring and set on hold and to go through the abuse. And as Ed said many years ago, the customers don't want to come to the dealership. It's not what you wake up every morning to do, but you have to do it. We need to make it as less struggleful as possible, I guess would be the word. But we struggle with it, and the clients struggle with it.
Troy, Carl, Nick, Cobi, you know, we're talking so much about so many different capacities that technology can be utilized in fixed operations and, you know, in the purchasing of vehicle. But, you know, as customer expectations evolve, are you seeing this the way that, you know, the technology that's happening in automotive, other industries, other verticals, maybe a little bit ahead of us in some of the ways that they improve that customer experience? So what pieces do you see evolving from other industries that are going to impact automotive?
Yeah, I guess I'll start. You know, I think automotive historically is kind of last to get there. Sean and Ed both mentioned that historically they want customers to drive to their dealership and perform service. So for us, we're always looking at what other industries are doing and what is the technology out there. One tool that we introduced recently is called the Easy Tread Tire Reader. And it's a device that helps, but there's still, Cobi would like this, it's people and process. So there's still people part of this, and they have to greet that customer at the service drive, actively walk around with the tool, but there's an engagement. Let the technology tell the customer they need tires, and then therefore that process kind of changes. And whether that's a valet or a porter, or in best case scenario, be the service advisor, but gives conversation and then let the technology tell the customer they need tires for it. That's what we're seeing.
Yeah, and I will echo that, and it's so true that as we see the salespeople work so hard to gain a customer, a service person can lose them in a heartbeat if they're not the right person. And we think about service people as being technical, but they also now have to have excellent people skills. Because if my experience in your service bay, or thank goodness now that we have mobile service options, if you show up at my house and you make me feel really important because you can actually look me in the eye and help me understand what you're doing, I will buy my next car from your dealership.
Yeah, I think the thing we have noticed with employees is that somewhere between 35 and 40 are digitally native, which means they don't want to talk to you.
Yeah.
And whether that's a consumer or the employee, we're trying to put as many tools into text and email that become automatic, and then it allows the best employees to do the best human skills, which is develop relationships and solve complex problems. And then the super simple things like schedule an appointment. It's pretty predictable. You use a day and a time and a type of service. That's a very computer literate task. It's very easy to systematize. Let's do all that stuff electronically via text or email, and then, you know, kick out the consumer, the human, the superhuman things that you can't do technically. Let the consumers do that, or let the the BDC or the sales rep have a real conversation, not like hey, I need your birth date, I need your VIN, I need your 80-digit VIN number, what's your license? I still don't know what my license plate is. It's all these sort of things. And so I think that's a big part of what we bring in our business, and I see it across all of the dealerships trying to do this.
Yes. Julia, it's amazing listening to our guests today on this panel. Just customer experience is evolving, and it's going to be even more important as we continue to elevate the industry. Everyone, we're here at the Fixed Ops Roundtable here at the Suburban Collection with LITHIA in Troy, Michigan. Stay tuned. We have more exciting stuff that's coming up next.
For over a decade, you've known MyKarma as the standard bearer for a revolution in service lane technology, extending from communication to service card video MPI, reporting, and MyKarma payments, transforming the service lane into an intelligent, revenue-maximizing powerhouse. Now, with collaborative workflow AI, MyKarma brings new meaning to convenience and transparency, helping dealership staff work better with greater context, insight, and efficiency, and delivering a real difference to your bottom line.
Fixed Ops doesn't need another chatbot. It needs AI that closes the loop.
Collaborative workflow AI like Service Concierge that not only schedules appointments 24 hours a day, but interprets the sentiment of every call, routes it to the right people, making sure that customers are served. Collaborative workflow AI like Service Prediag that interacts with service customers before they set foot in the dealership, asking questions and gathering intelligence so that techs have a head start on diagnosis. And collaborative workflow AI, like our tech video grader that looks at every tech video, helping management and techs improve video inspections with objective feedback. Collaborative workflow AI means 40 minutes saved per repair order, 8 to 10 more repairs per day, 20 to 30% higher additional service sales volume, 5% more after-hours customers.
With MyKarma's collaborative workflow AI, every workflow becomes an opportunity for lift in time saved, dollars gained, and customer trust earned.
MyKarma's collaborative workflow AI. Request a demo today and see it live at NADA 2026.
You'll feel thunderstruck after our service pickup and delivery segment with Clint Curtis of Zap Moto.
Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. I'm Sarah Vantine here with Ted Ings. Today we have the Zap Moto panel, and Ted, we're really seeing a lot of innovation coming from Zap Moto.
We are, Sarah. Remote services are hot. Clint Curtis, the founder and CEO of Zap Moto, is here with us. Clint, welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Oh, man, so good to be here.
And if I'm not mistaken, I think Sarah and I are going to see you next week out in Las Vegas at the NADA show.
Yes. I'm expecting to see you with a drink in hand at the craps table, just wasting your life away. But maybe squeezing in some NADA visits. But yeah, I'm excited to go down.
All right. Well, I know when you're on the floor, you're going to be in the North Hall. I see a booth number scrolling across the bottom of the screen. Everybody, if you want to make, as part of your NADA plans, a visit to see Clint at Zap Moto, booth 7847. And Sarah and I will be there. Also, you'll see us with Clint, and we plan on having a great show. In the meantime, Clint, want you to bring us up to speed. Talk to us a little bit about things we're seeing now in the industry with customer experience. Customer expectations are changing, are they not? And the convenience factor is huge right now.
Oh yeah, no, it's funny how I've been in this game now for going on 3 years, and just the changes that have happened in the last year have been insane as far as adoption. Where the customers expect us to meet them where they are, obviously, right? Whether that be via mobile or pickup and delivery, it's just. It's interesting to see other OEMs jump in and try to figure out this problem as well, because Ford's been leading the way, obviously. But God, we just feel serendipitous luck that we're in the right spot at the right time while this is happening.
Clint, is there a difference between pickup and delivery versus mobile service in the customer's eyes?
Yeah, I think there is. I think that. Obviously there's the peace of mind that when a mobile experience happens, that they aren't going to be without their car, that something's happening there, in their driveway. I know also that from the dealership perspective, there's a little bit of risk there, right? But there is a nice thing that comes with that retention piece, right? When you service the vehicle just at their home or office. But we see also different metrics with pickup and delivery that are really cool. With the customer spend is way, way higher when the vehicle's picked up, because you can only upsell so many things with a mobile tech in somebody's driveway.
True.
You know? So there is something to having that vehicle in the service lane, you know, in the service bay at the dealership to just make it easy for it to get there.
Sarah, I know you've got a couple questions on dealer operations for Clint today.
Yes, and Clint, you know, we're seeing so many dealerships, you know, you mentioned Ford, but we're also seeing other OEMs now realizing that this is a really great opportunity to have a strong customer retention with mobile services. So I'd love to get your take on, you know, specifically the fixed ops profitability. You know, there's some debate, you know, there's the expense, of course, of the van and the technology and all those pieces, but how do remote services impact the overall fixed ops profitability in your opinion?
Yeah, so the name of the game is retention. You know, when you talk about mobile service, you're not really competing against other dealerships. You're really just competing against the quick lube places, the Jiffy Lubes and things like that. And those Jiffy Lubes only offer those small little repairs. So what we see is the life cycle, the ownership cycle of the customer. Let's get that vehicle serviced and get that relationship with the customer as quickly as possible. A lot of times that is via mobile service, right? But then on top of that eventually, you know, as through the life cycle of that customer, that vehicle is going to get a little bit older, and then more services are going to need to happen, and those are going to need to happen in the dealership. So it's really a two-pronged approach, and one builds on top of the other. But when you set the standard where the customer expects that level of convenience with mobile service, you have to have a gateway to pickup and delivery, because they've already been accustomed to, hey, yeah, I'm not going to leave my couch or I'm not going to leave my office, and this is just going to magically happen, you know. And so when you transition from one to the other, it's got to be a smooth transition. And literally, they both, not to go 6-7 on you, right? But they both go hand in hand with each other.
Well, and Clint, you know, in talking about this, you know, it's really an interesting debate, because we've had, you know, some dealerships, like, of course, Ed Roberts with Bozard Ford Lincoln, that have expanded, and Jim Sabino, and we just have so many, you know, really powerhouse mobile service teams. But one of the questions that's come up quite a bit is about shop utilization with field services. So what are some of the ways that you balance shop utilization when it comes to that?
Yeah, so it really, when we started building our product, we were exclusively in the pickup and delivery space. And what we've seen, though, is that there was friction between the two. To your point, when you're talking about shop utilization, obviously the argument for mobile service is it's a lot cheaper to build a $120,000 truck that can go out and fix somebody's cars on site, as opposed to build, you know, an extended, you know, 3 or 4 bays at your facility, because you got the real estate, the construction, and things like that, you know. But at the same time, it's really interesting that the economics don't always fall the way that the dealership is accustomed to. It really is an investment in a customer relationship. And if I'm looking at, like, I'm going to send out and spend, you know, $25,000 in marketing materials on a bunch of mailers and stuff, you know, from 1985, I probably ought to look at maybe just using my existing customer base and customer data, getting on the phones and getting and servicing more customers via mobile and pickup and delivery. So where we saw the future going was, we would have dealerships that were, you know, signed up with us, and they also had a mobile service program. But then our AI, you know, part of what we do is we'll reach out to their existing customers, and we'll schedule or transition them to pickup and delivery. And we saw, oh, wait a second, people coming in over the top and in the store and saying, oh no, let's convert that to a mobile appointment, because they have these investments in these trucks and they want them on the road. And so we saw, like, oh, wait a second, these things should not be in friction or contrary to each other. It's all the same goal, which is customer retention and higher spend, right? Get them to spend more money with you and keep them happy and keep those good surveys. So then we're like, okay, we already have the foundation with our pickup and delivery tech stack. What can we do to take the lessons we've learned them and apply. So now we've got, kind of an all-in-one platform that manages both sides of the equation, so they can work, in conjunction one with another as opposed to against.
Makes a lot of sense. Clint, Zapmoto uses AI, okay? And that's certainly the big buzzword. And folks going next week to Las Vegas are going to hear a lot about that. But why don't you take us through that? Where does AI, or if you will, automation, where does it make the biggest impact? How are you using it? And how are you making this more seamless by doing that?
Yeah. AI. There we go. Now everyone's going to be paying attention, right? No, I think it's been this is what happens with new technology a lot of times when we look, at the past with the internet even, right? Especially in automotive, you see a new technology come out and all of a sudden everyone's like, oh, we got to do this, but what do we do? And they just start throwing stuff against the wall. Everything that we've built utilizing artificial intelligence, we have an advantage because we have this saying that you do it manually until you can't. And so within Zapmoto, that's what we do. We do it manually until we can't, and we have to use technology. And then we build technology to augment that process. And so what we've done is we've built from a firm foundation of customer communication, first being, okay, what is the monotonous conversation that's almost the same thing every single time? And really, literally, when we started, I remember when we started doing pickup and delivery, I would sit in a cubicle next to the service director, his desk, and I had a printout of all the appointments for the next day, and I'd just call the customers and say, hey, I see your F-150's coming in tomorrow. Would you like us to pick it up so you don't have to bring it in? And that was the genesis of it.
Oh, wow.
And then you go, okay, now we've got, 700, 800,000 of these conversations happening, in a given period of time. Well, the AI can learn a lot from that, but the goal is very, very simple. Take that customer from an in-store experience to a remote experience, right? That is an easy outcome that artificial intelligence can understand. The problem, I feel like, with AI, especially in the car business right now, is it's trying to be everything to everyone all the time. And I understand, like, when you come in and you're pitching, venture capital guys and investors a big, big vision, that you got to say, hey, we're going to put in this artificial intelligence and it's going to take over all these, these jobs, and you're going to save all this money and it's going to be amazing. And well, there are so many variables in a dealership, and there are so many different conversations that are happening. And if a customer catches wind that it's talking to AI, guess what happens? They get pissed. They get mad, right? And so our approach has been, let's figure out a scalpeled approach to how to implement artificial intelligence in customer interactions that is very, very, very just A or B. But then build it from the ground up with that starting point, but then add in, personality, conversation, things like that on top that makes it feel real and lifelike. That's the way the AI is I feel like is going to be applied. The dealerships, instead of launching this stuff to be everything to everyone and just handle everything as a one-stop shop, it needs to be a scalpeled approach with one agent handling this interaction, one agent handling this interaction. And that's how we're building our stack, because we want to use it first and do it manually until we can't, and then go from there.
So Clint, you've got a remote services platform. Take us through it. If I'm a dealer watching this today, maybe not yet into remote services, but obviously a lot of talk in the industry. My peers are all in pickup and delivery. How do you help a dealer get started? What are the steps? What do you do at Zapmoto? What's the secret sauce that our dealers need to hear that you could share with us today?
Bold question, Ted. No. So yeah, what we see and where we position ourselves more than anything is it's easy to sell software.
Okay.
You know, I like to call them gym memberships, especially here at New Year's, right? Like everyone's got a new resolution and joined a cool gym. Did you join any gym on the first, Ted?
No.
I know you're already in great shape.
Well, far from, but no, I did not. As a matter of fact, this year, no.
Sarah's shredded. I mean,
Sarah, just forget about it. I know.
Yeah. So I don't even ask her. I know that she's been in the gym for the last 10 years at least. Anyways, but you join these
on me,
gyms.
Sarah.
At the beginning of the year, we join these gyms and we sign up. We're like, yeah, we're gonna do this. This is gonna be amazing. And then, like, I think the average person breaks their resolution on the 7th. Is what I read somewhere or heard on the Today Show or something like that. But and then they're continually paying for this, right?
Yeah,
and the
that's
gyms,
right.
they're actually built their business on that, knowing that a large percentage of people will pay their $20 to $100 a month and never come in. Well, I feel like SaaS is the same way, right? Like, we come in, we're slick talking, and we're going to show you a bunch of cool graphs, and it's going to be amazing. We're going to make all this money for you, and then you're going to sign this contract. You're going to use it for 2 days, and then we're never going to talk to you again, but we have your credit card number. So we're going to pound that card every month. I used to be a dealer, right? And so I feel like I knew the tactics, and I just wasn't interested in building a company that was selling gym memberships. So we come in and we are very, very committed to implementation. We're committed to come in, show you the tools that we've built, but then make them so easy that you can't help but use them. It's like you have to make your product like for water. Water will always find the easiest place to flow, right? That's where it's going to go. And so you've got to capture and make it so easy that your tool is the one that's the easiest one for the dealer to use. Then it doesn't turn into a gym membership. So part of that is we've got this remote experience program that Ford's pushing. They want pickup and delivery to happen. They want mobile service to happen. Over the last year, you've been convinced to spend 120, 250. Not to call out Ed, but he's spent. Hold on, let's do it. Probably somewhere more in the realm of $15 million to buy a bunch of vans, right? You've invested this money. Okay, now how are you going to get this used? And the way that we come in and do it, we say, hey, you've got people, you've already got appointments. Let's get those converted. Let's fill that truck schedule up and convert it for you. And then the extra peeps on top of that decide, hey, yeah, I want a mobile experience. Well, sorry, the schedule's full, but you know what? We're going to pick it up for you. And then they say yes, and then we'll provide, and that plugs into our driver services, right? That's how we move this forward. It has to be so easy because the dealerships, they've got too much going on. They've got too many things they're managing. And to implement this process and use these tools, it's really, really, really hard when you're running an emergency room for cars. So we want to be the grease on the wheel, make that nice and smooth and frictionless for the customer and the dealership. That's our approach.
Well, the frictionless point, Clint, is so timely because that is, we're seeing customers, defect from dealerships when the process gets too cumbersome. Even, just booking an appointment online, sometimes that's a challenge because again, I don't want to click through all this, or it's hard to look at it on my phone. So, as this conversation continues to unfold, and Ted, I think we'll have to look back at this 4 years from now as well and see if the crystal ball was correct. But Clint, what do you see, in the future for fixed operations, 4 years from now in 2030?
Yeah, the real fascinating thing for me when I think about the future is the relationship between the manufacturer and the dealership, because there's this internal struggle or debate between the two as far as whose customer it is, right? Is it Joe Bob Ford's customer that's coming into the service department and they bought that Ford? Or is it Ford Motor Companies? Is it Jim Farley's customer? And both can be true at the same time. But I think what we're going to see is because the dealerships have been slow to adopt the customer behavior, and incentives aren't the only, or are pretty much the only lever that the OEM has to push behavior, right? They can use incentives or, or subsidies, or they can, use allotments even, on the sales side. Like, hey, if we're just going to give you a bunch of turquoise, Chevy Silverados, you want some whites and some blacks with leather seats, you're going to have to play ball with us. That's the other lever they have, right? But that's super extreme. I know that, we love our OEMs, we love the dealers. I'm not being disparaging to either. But I think what you're going to see is the OEMs continue to build their own technology to try and manage the customer experience from the top. Obviously, Ford has pushed the Ford Pass. It's interesting, though, in the literature recently, that in the news recently, that the manufacturers are moving away from Apple CarPlay. And so, that tells you a lot. That says, okay, like, we want our cars to be an iPhone, but we want them to be our own iPhone. Why? Because we want to manage the customer experience from front to back.
Okay.
I don't know if it's going to work. It feels like they're playing from behind, and we're so accustomed to the interface that we see, in our phones, that we like to see that in the vehicles as well. But I think that this is the way and the play that they have to try and push the change that the dealerships just sometimes are not willing to push at scale. We're going to have the innovators like Jim and like Ed, that are all in and they see it. But Jim and Ed cannot push this stone up the mountain by themselves. That's one location. It's a big operation, but it's one location, and there's 20,000 franchise dealerships across the country that are not Tesla. Right. So I think that we're going to see OEMs try to grab more and more real estate via technology that's embedded in their vehicles. I think they're going to try and push and find a place on the phones of their customers. And I think we're going to see a rub and a debate that's going to happen between the OEM, is that their customer, or the dealership, is that their customer, and trying to figure out what that middle ground is. Whereas Zapmoto wants to position themselves as, say, hey, if you make it just really, really easy and it doesn't mess with their workflow in the dealership, these changes can happen, but it has to be really, really, really easy. And as opposed to going all out war, let's one with another, let's work together and beat the big guy in the room, which is Tesla right now.
Everybody, Zap Moto is the company. Clint Curtis is the founder and CEO. They specialize in pickup and delivery, mobile remote services. They have an amazing platform that a lot of our dealers have taken advantage of and continue to, and it's continuing to grow and evolve as the industry grows. Clint, you're going to be in, and Zap Moto will be in NADA at the Las Vegas show next week. I see you're going to be in the North Hall. 7847. And any big announcements coming that you want to share with Sarah and I here today?
This remote services platform. We've expanded our tech reach, our tech offering. It's been in beta, and we are now excited to launch this into the stratosphere.
Okay.
And really help dealerships not just execute pickup and delivery, but help them execute mobile service and implement it with their customer base. And so I think this is the way that the company was built, and this is the next step in that evolution. And we're super excited. We feel like we have a great customer base, great dealer partnerships that have worked hand in hand with us. We're excited to roll this out to them, quickly, but then also expand, because there's so much real estate. There's so many opportunities, and the dealerships are just not taking advantage because they're just kind of stuck. Where do I start? And so, we feel like we're in a position where we can help them start.
If I'm a dealer or manager watching, can I make that part of my plans to come see you and maybe get a demo on this? And
100%. Yeah, I'm going to be there. I'm going to be there personally the whole week. We have a great team. But Clint at zapmoto.com. You can email me direct if you'd like, and we can set up a time. But we're going to be there. we'd love to talk to every single person there. We already have quite a few meetings booked, but we're in this for the long haul, and we gotta stay up at midnight, and I can't go play blackjack with Ted and Sarah. I'll stay in the hall with you guys, and they can, or maybe we just do it at the blackjack table. I'm sure that's allowed in some places.
Clint, congratulations to you on the success you're having. Sarah and I will see you next week in Las Vegas.
Looking forward to it. Appreciate it. Fixed Ops Roundtable forever.
Clint Curtis, everybody, with Zap Moto, here with us today at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Rock and roll all night with our principal BMW of San Antonio panel, filmed live at our After Dark show.
All right, good evening, everybody. Welcome to After Dark at the Fixed Ops Roundtable. We have a special treat for everybody tonight. We have the principals, the service management team from Principal BMW of San Antonio. I understand one of the largest BMW dealerships in the United States. We've got Isabella Stevens, Katrina Ness with us as well, joining Mohammad, Albert, and Anthony. And Allie, I'm going to let you do the formal introductions. Allie Peters, everybody, who's got the background and a little bit of color on who's here tonight.
Yes, well, welcome everyone to the Fixed Ops Roundtable After Dark. I am so excited to have our special guest this evening. So Mohammad, Albert, and Anthony and I worked together for many, many years in my past life, and I love them with my whole heart. We did some incredible work together growing the BMW store, and they have continued that growth. And so happy to have you guys here tonight and to get to be on the roundtable after dark.
All right, so
yeah, welcome everyone.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
So starting with Albert, I'm curious, and we'll go to all of you for this question as well, but kind of what got you into the automotive industry to start?
Well, really, it was not intentional whatsoever. I was at a career fair in college, and I was approaching graduation, so I was looking for whatever that next step was. And I thought I was in line to talk to a booth at another company altogether. Turns out I was actually in line with Principal Auto. And so once I made it to the front of the line, I was talking to somebody I didn't think I was going to be talking to, and they invited me to an informational. And they talked about how, they were looking to revolutionize the car industry and really look at the way, we treat customer service in auto. And so those things really resonated with me and stuck with me. And so I gave it a go, and I applied and went through the interview process and was fortunate enough to get hired. And that's how I've gotten here, and they haven't been able to get rid of me yet. So,
wow, that's an amazing story, Albert. You've stayed with the exact same dealer group since the career fair that you met them at?
Correct. Yeah, I did the career fair was in 2016, and I was hired in 2017, and I've been with them ever since.
Wow, so going on 10 years, that's exciting.
All right.
Amazing.
I see
Mo,
Aaron
what
Calvert
about
in the chat. Sorry.
Hi, Aaron.
Hello, Aaron. Mo, what about you? Do you have a similar story? How did you kind of get into the automotive industry and specifically working at Principal?
So mine's a little different. One of my best friends works here still. This was about 10 years ago. He was a valet, a support staff member, and he told me about the opportunity here. So I came in for an interview. Actually, Allie interviewed me for a valet position. I was a valet for a year. After that year, I was offered the opportunity to become a service advisor. I did that for 3.5 years. And after that, another opportunity arose, and I was able to become a service manager, and been doing that for just about 6 years. It's awesome. I really like the path I've taken. I would have never expected a lot of this. It's a very different world, but I love it. I love doing this job. I love this place. I love who I work with. So that's what keeps me going here.
That's awesome. Anthony, what about yourself?
Yeah, so mine's that typical story. You know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody. So I was in hospitality, fine dining restaurants for about 10 years prior to coming to this industry. A good friend of mine came to me and said, hey, I know somebody who just relocated from Dallas. They're looking for people who know customer service, and I think you should talk to them. And I was like, okay, well, what industry, what am I getting into? And she's like, well, it's the automotive industry. And I looked at her and I said, okay, I can't fix my own car, so I don't know what I could bring to them, but came in and spoke to the general manager. I was at Volvo at the time, and the general manager was there, and he's actually here now. And he basically told me the exact same kind of story that Albert said is, hey, we're looking to be the Ritz-Carlton of automotive dealerships. We're looking to raise a bar in how we handle and take care of guests. We want to make sure that we hire the best of the best. And, you almost want it to be an overnight change and success. And here I am 11 years later, and we are, every day we're one step closer to that goal and to that dream, and seeing other people grow and learn, and seeing all the great compliments from other guests.
Yeah, that's amazing. And we talk a lot about how managers will recruit from the service industry, whether that's fine dining or hospitality, hotels, and stuff like that, because they know how to treat and interact with customers. So that's so cool that, you came from that side as well. And Ted, we talk about that very often, how sometimes people that come from that background are the best employees. So that's a really cool.
Something I always say is your technicians are your chefs. Your ASMs are your service team, so it aligns very well. You're just selling parts instead of food.
Yeah.
Jim Sabino, good evening in the chat. Jim Sabino is one of the mobile service leaders in the country. He is in New Jersey. He's the fixed ops director at the All-American Ford Automotive Group. And I remember just a couple of years ago when Jim started out with one mobile service van. We were talking about mobile in the green room, Jim, and these gentlemen are doing quite a bit now in mobile, as well as a BMW dealership. And Jim, I believe now, is on his 16th mobile van. It gets addictive from what I understand. And I also understand the CSI is absolutely through the roof. And Jim can confirm that from customers. They love the experience of the convenience of having a technician come to their home and do the work in the driveway, or for a commercial, to do it in the parking lot. And they get to meet and know the technician. So it's a whole new world. And it's amazing, everybody, how this industry is changing and continuing to. I mentioned I have a BMW. When I go in now, they used to do the, just to walk around the old way. Now I get the video MPI. I'm sure you're doing that as well. And tell us about some of these things. How is that going? How's the technology? How are these video MPIs working out? Tell us about mobile service, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I'll take this one. And I think it aligns with everything that we do within our shop. Is the expectation from our guests is immediate and transparent. So the videos, whether it's in the field at a guest house or in the actual shop, it helps kind of cut down all those barriers of what are they really doing back there? Are they really looking at anything? And does it really make sense? And it helps really build value when we're talking to the guests about it, when we can say, well, did you see at minute this, they were pointing at this is what we're looking at, to help them understand, because we have to understand it doesn't matter how smart a guest is. They could be the best surgeon in the world. If they've never worked on a car, they don't understand how intricate the engine is, right? So I think that having those, whether it's out in the field, again, mobile or in the shop, having those videos helps really build that value and create that bond with our guests.
Yeah. I like that a lot. I like that. It's also revolutionizing the industry. Remember how we used to have to make a phone call and wait for the customer to call us back and take the car off the lift? Customer now, we get an answer pretty quick in most cases, right? And what's your experience? How do customers feel about all these new things?
Well, I think what they've come is to expect it, right? So when we first started doing these videos and when we first started doing these conveniences, it was kind of a luxury for some of these guests. And now it's become the bare minimum, right? So we have guests that are coming in now saying, hey, where's my video? Why didn't I receive it? And sometimes whether it's a technical difficulty or whatnot, we're seeing that they didn't receive it, but maybe we recorded it. And so we're having to send it to them another way. But they've come to expect these luxuries, and it's become the bare minimum and the basic standard for how we need to operate with these guests.
I see Brad Pascal from Dynatron is in the chat. He may also chime on this, but are you also seeing that customers share these videos as well? Because we're seeing that not only do they, because I know you could see the stats on it, if it got opened, if it got watched, but we're also seeing Mark Mickens, another great mobile retailer. Good evening, Mark. Customers share these videos as well. I don't know if you're seeing that as well.
Of course. And we see them referencing them a lot. So when a customer has a concern or they have a question about something, they'll bring up their video. They'll show the video to see and make sure that we're on the same page. So they're watching them, they're referencing them, and they're definitely expecting them.
Yeah.
Mark, we're also talking about mobile service, and I mentioned Mark Mickens. Mark is a former Mercedes dealer and a former Ford dealer as well. But Mark, one of the biggest in Mercedes on mobile service, and helped get them into mobile service a couple of years back, and has made some great strides. And also the head high school football coach in my town, the winning high school football coach for the last 40 years. Amazing. I'll be quiet now. Go ahead, guys. Sorry.
No, I think that's honestly just so great. I know that when I've had car problems, it's very annoying, to take your car into a technician for months on end. But those videos, they really give me a peace of mind. I know that they're actually working on my car and somebody much smarter is there to explain to me what's wrong with my car. And it really just makes me feel better. And I think that's great, especially when you guys are dealing with people on some of their worst days. Nobody likes to have their car out of commission for a couple weeks. So my biggest question is, what does a great leader look like to you guys on the service drive? When you're picking out these technicians, when you're picking out these advisors, who do you want leading the team, and what kind of, skills do they have and bring to the table?
Yeah, I guess for this one, what we really look for here, it is a big operation. Unfortunately, we like to be in as much as we can, but it's such a big operation, we can't touch every single thing, right? So we want, not only do we want us to be leaders, but we want the advisors to be leaders. We want the technicians to be leaders. So that's what we look for. We look for people that are going to take initiative. If there's an issue, they're not just going to stop. It's not a blockade, it's an obstacle. They're going to get over it. They're going to hurdle it. They're going to find a way to get around it. So that's really, really what we focus on here. We have a great staff that does that. And obviously that comes over time. There's a lot of training involved with that, a lot of hard times that goes into that. But that is, I believe, what we look for here, especially given the size of us.
Yeah. And speaking of size, Mo, tell us how many service advisors you have and how many people are on your team, because we were talking about it earlier and we were all blown away.
So we have 22 advisors. We have right at 60 technicians. We have 4 floors worth of bays. I think we have right around 117 bays, if I'm not mistaken, for the service department. And like we were talking about earlier, we still have the basement, which is our collision center. And that's where all the collision work gets done. So it's right under service. So it's all in one big shop.
Wow. There's a lot going on under you guys. So management skills have to be top tier.
Yeah.
Mo, how do you manage that? You said 4 levels. How do you, I mean, you know, I'm just thinking about that logistically. How do you manage all that?
Through strong leadership. That's how you manage it. Yeah. You have to have people that you can rely on. We have a great team. We have a great shop foreman team that we rely on heavily for the shop. We also have group leaders as well. We rely on them because you're right. It is a big shop, and logistically, just the parking lot, getting to the car wash, going to the bottom lot, all those things, they do take the additional time that you wouldn't expect at a smaller store. So you're absolutely right. That's a part of it that I think gets forgotten about a lot.
And I think a big part is hiring the right people, is giving them the autonomy to lead. Right?
Yeah.
If you take away the autonomy, then you have to micromanage. And that's what we try not to do. We understand they're going to make a mistake. We understand that there are going to be growing pains. We've all made them ourselves. If you could understand that and you could really address it with empathy, people stay around and people aren't afraid to make the right decision. So if we have people who don't want to do that, our lives become a lot more difficult.
Yeah. I love that. Empowering people to lead. I love that. That's amazing.
Correct.
Allie, I had no idea what a huge operation this was. You didn't tell us the full story, Allie. This is great.
Well, we gotta leave more for later, right? Never get it all out on the table at first. It was a big deal. It still is a big deal, and it's been so fun. So my store is just across the highway from them. So when I'm missing them, I can just go on the top of the parking garage and look across, and I can see and wave and say hi from afar. But yeah, it's huge. It's massive, as like physically massive. The space, people really genuinely don't understand it. And to think about, because we moved into that building in 2018, and to think about all the changes we made in that initial, first few years when I was there, and then just to see and hear all of the additional changes you guys have made is just, it never stops. You feel like you perfected, and then there's the opportunity, okay, go break it again and make it better. And it's also really refreshing in this business. How often have you seen a 3 management team with a fixed ops director who've been together for 6, 7, 8, 10 years and been able to put all the work in together and grow that? It's so rare, and it's so special, and I'm so proud of them.
I think
Tell us about, if you don't mind, if you get a chance, tell us about your technicians, what age they range, and do you grow your own, and because obviously that's a big discussion these days in the industry.
Yeah, we've started a kind of a maintenance team and a fast lane team, if you will, where we started to grow our own technicians to ultimately go into mainline work. And so with that, we really like developing our own people. So we hire the experienced techs, but then we also hire the inexperienced, and just making sure that we have the right people in place to get the job done.
You see, Jim's got a question here in the chat. How many cars a day?
So we average right around 130. We would like to get to right about 155 within the next 6 months.
Wow. Okay.
It's what I always tell people, it's the size of a Toyota operation, but it's BMW. So we have to make it feel small when it's this big.
Yeah. I love that. That's so strong. A lot going on. Growing technicians, obviously a big focus in the industry right now. We're hearing that, of course, you hear that there's not enough technicians. I think I saw the CEO of Ford Motor Company a couple weeks ago was all over the news on that. But from what I gather, it's really maybe not enough technician development programs, right? To develop techs and to grow them and to keep them and to, find the techs that we have on the show, tell us money's important, but there's a lot more. And it seems like the culture at your dealership is pretty special. If you want to elaborate on that.
Yeah, and I'll also piggyback on that and then go into the culture aspect. Is about a year ago we talked to the shop director and we basically told him, don't stop talking to technicians. I was like, we can never have enough. If we want the best of the best, we're not gonna stop just because we hit a number. So I will tell you, we have technician interviews every single week. They're out there, they want to work, and they want somewhere that's going to treat them right. I think that a couple of things that we do well is most people already have it, but is having the air conditioned shop, which is a basic now, but people still can't find them. Locker rooms for them, female and male soda machines for them, things like that. We do a huge technician appreciation once a year where we spend thousands of dollars just to tell them how much we love them and how much we want them there.
Wow.
And the gifts that we give away is off of a Christmas list that they give us, right? So the three of us, we get behind a grill, we grill steaks, we make mushrooms, we do all that fun stuff. Everybody eats, drinks, has a good time. And it's about a 3 to 4 hour event. When everybody leaves, everybody's smiling, and the next day you can't hear enough graciousness from them. I mean, they're so thankful for it, which is a good thing when they work that hard.
Katrina, I'm thinking back to last July when you and I were in Texas, we were in Houston together, and we were in that dealership doing a pop-up event for the Fixed Ops Roundtable. And boy, I know I sure would have appreciated air conditioning in that shop that day. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, especially in Texas, I think
In July.
yeah, exactly. And we weren't even on our hands and knees working on a car, and there's people that are trying to do their jobs and should expect that as the bare minimum, really. But you three are such strong leaders and you have such a powerful and large team under you. And I'm curious, with your time and your experience at Principal, what are some stories that you're proud of, whether that's about yourself and your growth in the company or about empowering and leading other people under you?
So something I'm really proud of, we hired a new advisor, I would say a year and a half, 2 years ago, new to the industry. He was managing at a Walmart. We interviewed him, liked him. Albert actually knows him very well, one of his good friends. He got off to a good start. He understood, he has a good work ethic. He got off to a really strong start. And the past year in 2025, he has really, really shown what he's capable of. I mean, he really embodies the leadership aspect and the aspect of, it's like I said earlier, they're just obstacles. He finds a way around them. He finds a way to get his job done. He does it with, honestly, sometimes it looks like minimal effort because he tries to be as efficient as he can. That was a huge win for me for 2025, for all of us, to see him grow that last year and see, what he can be. And again, that's his first full year. So we're really excited to see where he goes. And I'm bringing this up because he's on my team. So these 22 advisors we have, they are split by us three. We have our areas of responsibility. I mean, we manage everybody, but he is one of mine specifically. And it's just really great to see, someone embody what a dealership can do for you, what the service department can do for you if you just really focus on your leadership.
Yeah, you put him in a position and you got to see him soar. There's nothing more accomplishing than that, truly. Yeah. Albert, what about yourself?
Yeah, so I think back to the development and the growth that we've had just since I started in 2017. Okay. So Ali mentioned a little bit earlier that we moved into this building in 2018, making us the largest BMW dealership in the country. And so when I look back on it and I started, I think we all know our customer satisfaction was not anywhere near where it needed to be. We had outgrown that space. We had a lot of challenges, and there were a lot of things working against us. However, we knew that at that point we could make excuses and then kind of justify what was happening. But once we started and we got into this building, we knew that we were going to have to step up our game because there were no more excuses, right? We had all the facilities, we had all the resources, everything was in place to make sure that we were successful. And so we had to rise to that level, and we had to meet it. And boy, have we. I mean, we've really stepped up our game in customer satisfaction, and we've gone to top 10% in the nation in BMW customer satisfaction scores. So looking back to where we were, it's night and day. And so being able to meet that standard is something that I'm really proud of, because it's not just with me in management. It's been since I was an advisor, so I've seen the growth go through leadership, and just being able to be a part of that journey has been really, really special.
Yeah. Albert, what are some key best practices that you think have helped, really increase your CSI scores?
Well, communication is going to be one of the biggest ones, and making it easier for us to communicate with our guests. I was here when we implemented My Karma onto the service drive, and it's a great communication tool for our guests. And so being able to use that to our advantage, to text our guests, to have conversations with our guests, and all the calls are recorded, so we can reference those calls when it comes to that. So being able to be transparent with our guests is something that they really value, and being able to have those honest conversations. So utilizing My Karma, following up with each customers after their service. So once their service is done, we're following up with them days later to make sure that everything is okay on their vehicle, and making sure that they don't have any lingering issues that maybe we would need to readdress. Sorry, my lights just came off.
That's all right. Hey, by the way, My Karma has great tools. I mean,
it absolutely
we have them
I
on the
think it
Fixed Ops
changed our
Roundtable. That's an amazing platform, and it's really, all the things they do now with the payments and all the stuff that's built in. It's very impressive.
It's great.
Yes. Anthony, what about yourself? Do you have any true success stories or best practices that you've seen over the past years of experience while you've been at the dealership?
Yeah, so I'll go into best practices first. I want to piggyback on communication. I think that, Ted, we kind of talked about it before we got on, is there's a level of expectation that's changed since those of us that have started in the car industry before these tools were in line. When we're using just our desk phone, guests understood that they may not hear from us until Monday. As now, people require immediate responses. Yeah. So I think that communications become a lot more difficult, and it's also, as a leadership team, it's been difficult to realize that sometimes, because we're saying, okay, why aren't you contacting that guest immediately? And it's been 20 minutes, where when we first started, it could be an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, who knows, just based off of how communication was then. So that's one thing. Secondly, best practice, and we had this conversation earlier, is you have steps of service, and you could either muddy it with as many details as possible, telling your service team what to do, when to do, how to do it, what to say, or you could go to your key points and your non-negotiables, which are, these are the key points that we want you to talk to every guest about. How you get there is up to you, but these are what we want to say. So we talked about UVI earlier, and you can have UVI in your service drive, and it's cool, and it sends pictures to your guests. But if your team's not talking about it, it's not really doing much to train and teach it and educate the guests, right? So those are some best practices. Just keep stuff in front of your teams and help them learn. When it comes to a win, what I love is seeing people grow. So moving people from the service drive as valets to an ASM position, or from the call center to an ASM position, or seeing our top performers that make so much moving into a director position. As much as you hate to lose their production, seeing them grow into those is the most special part of what we do. And I think that that's how you really grow your company and grow your team.
Yeah.
Amen. I love it.
Amen.
I think 2026 is going to really be the year of fixed operations. All these tools you're talking about, you're so right, Anthony, that, we didn't have these years ago, not too long ago, right, in the past. And now look how it has sped everything up. It's made everything faster. The tech response is faster. The tech's communicating to the customer's getting back to us. The customer expects it. Wow.
Yeah.
And there's no telling where this is going to go. I mean, right now, we're looking at dealerships and seeing all the the AI, all the focus is coming into fixed ops now to make this more efficient, and it's pretty amazing where this is going. So
We start to see it even in our DMS now. When we have a recommendation for a guest, it'll populate an AI kind of description of what that component is, or how to better present it to a guest. So I mean, it's coming in all different directions, this AI.
Wow.
That's incredible.
It's not just Chat GPT, that it's in our everyday lives. It's embedded in stuff that we're doing, and it's amazing. And it's got to have a big lift because these are things the customer needs. These are needed services. It's convenient. They can take care of it now. Okay. Easy. Okay. And again, you're the factory authorized dealer. You got the genuine parts. I would imagine you have an amazing amount of time you spend on technician training, and that's, I think, one of the big advantages that you have over the independents as well.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, Allie, there's a lot here.
Yes. Thank you guys for coming. I'm so happy to have all of you here.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us. We really appreciate it.
So, Allie, everybody on this panel tonight, with the exception of Isabella and Katrina, everybody worked with you, not just with you, but for you as well.
Technically, at one point, yes. Yeah, when I was when I left BMW, I was the service director, and so these were my 3 service managers, and it was the best of the best. I've never had better. So they are, and just even like listening to you guys talk tonight it makes me so proud because I can hear and see the growth that's happened in the time that I've been away, and I'm just incredibly proud of all 3 of you guys.
And I would imagine, just real quick, if you don't mind, you must have a very impressive parts operation too, because you can't sell those hours without parts. And I would imagine that's a big part of the equation as well.
Absolutely. Each of our floors is equipped with a parts runner and a parts associate that's actually fulfilling those orders. So there's like a whole separate parts department on each floor. So it's really helpful when you're running an operation this big.
So do you have a runner that's out in the shop and brings, parts out to the tech? How does that work?
Yeah, so we do have a runner. Their main goal is to get the parts to the floor.
Okay.
If there is downtime, they do run it to the technicians, but the goal is to get it to the floor, because if it's on the floor, it's very easy to get from the service bay.
The robots are coming. The robots are going to.
Yeah, they're on their way.
That's next. We're already seeing that. Okay. Yeah. Katrina, you saw the parts robot when we were in Dallas together as well.
Yep, I definitely did. And I think that there is a lot more to come and a lot to look forward to at NADA this coming year of 2026. So I'm excited to see all the robots, new technologies, and AI that will be presented there.
We will be at NADA. It's coming up first week of February. We have a big venue in the West Hall, so we hope to see everybody there as well. In the meantime, Katrina, what's coming up? Because I know you've been busy with this intern project. You want to tell us a little bit about that and what we have to look forward to with that?
Absolutely. Episode number 3 is releasing tomorrow, 2 p.m. Eastern. We will be streaming it live. This is the intern where we have 10 Northwood students competing in different challenges to see who is the top Northwood student and ultimately the winner. So episode 3 will be released tomorrow. So make sure you tune into that. It is very engaging and fun and interesting. And you get to see all the young talent that is not only coming out of Northwood, but also entering our industry. So make sure you tune into that. It's awesome.
And Katrina, are they about to work their way into the dealership now? I think that's coming up as well.
Yep, soon to be. Not this episode, but the following episode. We filmed it in the Suburban collection down in Troy, Michigan with Lithia. So that was really exciting. So we're heading from Northwood to dealership to everywhere in between, and a lot to come. So super exciting.
Yeah. That is exciting. Okay. Super stuff. And everybody, if you're not aware of it as well. Oh, here's Robert Miggs. Robert at Carter Myers Automotive out in Virginia. Thank you so much for all you do. Happy New Year to you in the industry. And our big 4-day event also is coming up. It's right around the corner, Isabella. I know you've been telling us a lot about this for a couple of weeks.
Yes, Rock Revolution, January 26th through the 29th. We have over 175 pro speakers and panelists joining us. It's a fully virtual event, so you guys can tune in from your house, the office, or maybe even the service lane if you guys are still late working. But it's a great event. There's really no reason not to sign up. So just make sure that you sign up for your complimentary ticket right now. You can even use that QR code that's nicely on the screen.
Isabel, I think we're gonna rerun this segment during the event. I see that coming already. So.
Yay!
Yeah.
That would be great. Boys, y'all are on the Fixed Ops Roundtable. Whoop, whoop.
Right.
Anthony, Albert, Mo, thank you so much for being here with us today. Great stuff.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, guys.
All right, so Katrina, what's next? We're back on Monday, right?
Yep, back on Monday. I'll be back up to school at that point. Winter break is over, and a lot of hard work coming our way. So it's exciting. The new year.
Right. Everybody, thanks for being here today. Appreciate
Thank you.
Great job. Fantastic.
You guys.
If your service lane's lost its groove, you need Frog Data at NADA 2026. Come experience fixed ops velocity and fixed ops mojo.
These speakers are no foreigners to the biz. It's Fred and Charles Fordin with Dealer IO.
Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. I'm Sarah Vantine here with Ted Ings. Today, Ted, we have an exciting announcement from a very familiar face and a new one to the roundtable.
That's right, Sarah. Welcoming back Fred Fordin, a great name in our industry, along with Charles Fordin. They have a company called Dealer. We're going to hear all about it today. But first, Fred and Charles, welcome to the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Thank you, Ted. Always great to be here.
Great to have you both. Excited to hear what you're going to be sharing with the audience today. Before I do, for those who may not know, Fred Fordin has a great track record in our industry. He revolutionized fixed ops. When you hear the term, which you do commonly now, ASR Pro, we can thank Fred Fordin for that, for bringing that to market, which became the X-Time Inspect and CDK service tools. It's the inspection platform that most of you are using right now during the course of the workday. And they're back today with something that will help reconditioning and for dealers what ASR Pro has done in the past. So, Fred, tell us a little bit about what's happening. Give us a quick intro, Charles, as well, and I'll let you gentlemen take it from here to start off.
Thanks, Ted and Sarah. So, looking back at the ASR Pro days and what that product ended up meaning to the industry, both way more so through CDK and X-Time than we managed to get some sales out there. But once we joined those companies, as you know, it exploded. And the key to the success of ASR Pro was that we were taking processes that existed in infant format, if you will, and we took them and made them work faster, more efficiently, a better customer relationship. It was all encompassing into what we were trying to accomplish. And I hand it to my son. He's had ideas for years since we sold that company, and we both have journeyed through the big names, Cox and CDK and DealerTrack, and of course there's always a great education that comes with that, right? You go work for those big companies and you learn stuff you just didn't know as a small time entrepreneur, and so we've really gotten the benefit of having been the authors of the program and then seeing them through and rising to those positions in those companies. We've really learned a ton. And so for me, I think the biggest takeaway that I've walked away from is that even today, all these years later, fixed ops and variable ops still have a separation. And that separation just looms large. And when you look at the industry and you look at the processes that go on, where is the place that fixed and variable come together? What's the one place where we're doing inspections in both, right? And so there was this natural affinity for us to look at how do we bring this together, but do it in a way that it hasn't been done before. And so here I'm going to hand off to Charles because he's really the mind behind how we make this work.
Well, I think the only thing I would add to that you left out is we enhanced the workflow and process of inspecting in fixed operations by digitizing the process. And at the time, digital transformation was in a point and place that was very accepting of mobile and high-speed internet. And we embraced those changes, and with those technologies, we were able to improve the process. Today, it's automation and AI. And so we took another fine look at those processes and those inspections especially. And by adding automation and AI, we're once again able to measurably improve that process. And that's the only part I would add to that.
Well, Charles, so it sounds like, today what Dealer is doing is they're looking at more of the reconditioning components, and you took on inspections before. So why reconditioning now?
Sarah, it's not just reconditioning, but reconditioning and remarketing, and really all of the inspection that goes behind it. So any type of vehicle in all type of locations, they basically procure different processes and workflows based on what they are and what they need. So if it's a new car or a used car that's being certified, they somewhat fall into a different workflow. And so we were able to tell that through AI and computer vision, we can enhance the inspection workflow from the second the vehicle arrives, and we could also improve remarketing and time to line by focusing on all those different fluid processes and not making them one rigid inspection and remarketing and reconditioning process.
Okay. Without demoing the product, which obviously we're not going to do today, Sarah, when you think about all the different inspections that exist in the land, right? There's tons of them, and OEMs keep coming out with new ones. Charles has taken AI to the point of, oh, you got a new 168 inspection form? Click, the AI looks at it, and it builds all of the lines in the inspection itself in the computer just by looking at the form. And so we've taken this to a point where anybody that wants to create a new inspection tomorrow for whatever reason, they can do it, and the machine will automatically learn that inspection and provide it in a matter of seconds.
Wow. That's right. To build upon that, we already have every single certified pre-owned inspection template in our system simply from taking a picture or uploading it. And any dealer that is using the system, any admin in their store can simply add a new one, and our system learns that form and builds it directly into the workflow process. AI can talk to it, and your agent is interactive with that form immediately. Absolutely no downtime, no requests to support. no coding involved, right? So we're able to learn these processes and these workflows instantaneously and convert them into a transferable service.
All right. Well, one of the biggest topics here at the roundtable is reconditioning. It sounds like you are market ready, and then some. Charles, walk me through, or walk Sarah and I through, how Flow actually gets vehicles market ready faster as well.
We are market ready. In fact, I encourage everyone to take a look at our website. We have a very self-led journey for sign up. You can see a button at the top for sign up. From there, it's very easy for you to find your business domain. And we are, we have so much market data involved already that we most likely have a sample of your inventory already. You step through and validate your domain and pick the product that you want, and you're instantly subscribed. From there, we have a very self-led journey for incorporating your inventory and understanding how to use the tool and learning how to actually step through the workflows. Everything is embedded inside of the UI from our support and all of our entire onboarding and any other products from within the website that you'd like to add to your suite. You just go into our admin section, and from there it takes you back to the portal and you could just add another product. It's really very easy. From there, inventory comes in from a number of free sources. So we're immediately contacting your inventory management tool, be it vAuto or one of the others, and we're pulling down inventory sources so that we're able to merge your official inventory with the sample that we have, and the self-led journey for using computer vision to go up to a car. We can read absolutely any door jam sticker in any position and fully understand all the metadata about the vehicle, including tire PSI stickers, and those instantly feed into our inspection. So the dynamic enhancements through computer vision going up to the car and actually beginning the inspection that way really do improve time and experience.
Fred and Charles, I want to pivot a little bit because we've talked about AI. That word has come up quite a bit at the roundtable, and then of course, in this process as we're talking about it. So, when you talk about automation, Fred, what does that really mean? Like, what is that AI actually doing day to day?
Well, it's it's doing what you and I used to do, only it doesn't need us anymore. So the automation, and Charles will certainly do a better technical description, but what the automation is doing is it's allowing the employees at the dealership to move faster, and not just move faster. It's not that they go from 30 seconds in a step to 10 seconds in a step. It's that they no longer have to do that step. It gets done for them because of all of the different pieces of information. For example, some dealerships have a flat. I know when I was a GM, it was every used car had $800 automatically approved in service. Didn't matter whether it needed anything or not. It had $800 approved in service, and an RO was going to get written. Well, our system already knows what your threshold is. That's the word we use in the system, is threshold. What your dollar threshold is, and so as you're looking at, should we buy this vehicle? Do we even want to buy this vehicle? How have you sold that year, make, model, and trim historically? What is, based on mileage, what do we think the restoration is going to cost, right? What are the repair bills going to be? How many days do we think you're going to keep this car in stock? And based on that, what's floor planning going to be, right? And so with all of that information already in the system that AI has, in the initial setup, AI can make decisions that used to take somebody to say, go ahead or don't go ahead. And when you think about the time lost or the time gained, it turns into a major factor in how quickly that car goes to the front line.
So Charles, it sounds like this is really enabling an employee. They're not having to wait on those phone calls or those, approval methods. Now this is really taking over a lot of those, historically very manual processes.
Right. And that's what we refer to as our agentic helper. So everyone essentially has their agent built into their role, and based on, the normal workflows and pieces of data that they're involved with, their agentic helper assists with communication and all of the other things that they would normally go to a calculator for. You can just dig in with your agentic helper and ask it all sorts of questions, right? Like, for example, I'm trying to figure out how to price this car. Dad mentioned all the different things that we know already about your goals and your historical sales. I absolutely know that I want to keep this vehicle, and I know how much I'm willing to put into it, but exactly what do I want to price it at? And you could ask AI, what are the top 3 comps in my competition across the way? And they'll just spit that out for you, right? So rather than having to dig in and query and find out this information, we can just ask it and it'll respond to you. And our agentic helper has a widget built into it. So many of the things that you ask it, they show up in an interface that looks very much like other parts of the system where you would have seen that exact same data. So
Gentlemen, I'm sorry, go ahead, Charles.
It's without a doubt an enhancement because, folks from there have saved time just by not moving from one screen to another.
Okay, all right. My follow-up for either of you is, what are you seeing in stores or in dealerships that are using this right now?
Charles, go ahead, take that one. Talk about.
Well, what we're seeing is cars are on the web as fast as they want them to be, right? We have the ability for our agentic helper to get cars, ready and into the inventory, have photos taken, branded, updated, backgrounds updated, and syndicated to the inventory provider nearly instantaneously. Our fluid process then allows for decisions to be made or advanced based on the wants and needs of that car. So if a vehicle, is ready for sale rather quickly, and there's still some things that need to be done, it expedites the process and moves it up to the top. So through that, we're seeing days gained in some cases, and entire deals won that normally would have been lost because we're better managing the fluid process, location to location, car to car.
This is incredible stuff, Ted. And Fred and Charles, I know our listeners today, hearing about dealer, are going to have a lot of questions, and they're going to, want to understand more about how all of this is going to impact their individual business. So Fred, Charles, is this something that's customizable? Like, is this, scalable across multiple rooftops? How does a dealer really get started to find out more information today?
Yeah, so we're completely set up for enterprise level. When Charles was talking about the setup, the online setup, and how really hands-free and just simple it is to get going. Well, that's the case whether it's a 30-store group or an individual rooftop. When you're setting up, it's am I setting up a group or am I setting up a store? And if you set up a store today and next week you want to set up your group, it's simple to do. It's not time consuming. This is the greatest thing for me as an individual. The hard part of ASR Pro was managing the implementations, which was a massive amount of setup in advance, which today the AI does all of it for us.
Isn't that beautiful?
It's wonderful, Ted. I mean, it's, when you think about the time savings and the brain damage of finding the right people to do those jobs, and the AI just does it. And so it gets us completely to a point where, we can have stores up and running in a matter of hours. Enterprise level, sure, it's going to take more than a couple of hours. But the fact that if someone was interested today, that Monday morning they could be utilizing this system, even the learning of how to do it is so simplified and so user friendly that it's It's really a whole new world compared to, what we've done in the past.
Charles, anything I'd like to add to bring us home?
Well, we're using AI in 4 primary places, right? Computer vision, AI photos, agentic helpers, and in the inspection. And in each place, it unifies the whole workflow and it helps us reduce costs across the dealership. So the onboarding is tremendous because it's a consolidated platform and all of the back-end data is speaking to each other via AI, as Dad was alluding to. So once we're connected, it's sort of omnipresent and everywhere, and it's just that easy.
I love it. All right. Gentlemen, thank you so much for your time today. Exciting to learn about Dealer. For those of you who want to learn more, down below in the scroll, you could see the URL for dealer.io. I see a 919. Look, Fred, that looks like it could be your number. Is that right?
It is. That's my number.
All right. All right. So if you want to reach out, everybody, Fred Fordin and Charles Fordin will be happy to help answer your questions and learn more about the platform and how this can be customized for you with your situation at your location. Sarah, very top of mind with everything we're seeing at the roundtable right now. Speed, reconditioning, the focus on these types of things, very, very important.
Yeah, and one of the keys, Ted, is we know, and I'm willing to be bold enough to make the statement, we have surpassed most of the competition in the recon industry at this point based on where we are. And so, great tools that are out there. We actually stayed quiet and stayed stealth for a longer period of time than perhaps we should have, but it's enabled us to really just, blow by and get to that point where we can stand and brag the way we did 15 years ago.
Congratulations, Fred and Charles, on all that you've built with Dealer. It'll be really exciting, Ted. Again, all this innovation that's coming to the automotive industry will be revolutionizing what's happening in retail.
Very timely. I mentioned Fred's great track record. Everybody, learn more, dealer.io. Charles Fordin and Fred Fordin. Fred, I know end of January, I think you've got a birthday coming up in a couple of days. Happy birthday to you. I know a lot of folks in the industry are going to want to reach out to you also. And, thank you for all you've done for the industry and continue to do.
I appreciate it.
All right.
My pleasure.
Charles, great to see you. And congratulations on Dealer. And we look forward to hearing a whole lot more. So,
Thank
Sarah,
you.
All right.
Thanks for everything.
Charles Fordin, everybody, and Fred Fordin from Dealer here with us today at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Dream on and don't stop believing in fixed ops. We want to thank you for joining us on the main stage as we brought rock and roll to the roundtable. Ted Ings, Sarah Van Tyne, Katrina Ness, myself, and our Fixed Ops Roundtable team appreciate you all for tuning in for the 31st Fixed Ops Roundtable event.